start by introducing the committee members and staff. My name is Tom Plamondon, and I am the chair of the committee. The remaining members are Daniel Lajeunesse, who is our vice chair, Steve D'Angeli, Linda Deringer, David Mango. The secretary-treasurer is Prashanthi Manoharan, and we are joined by the manager of development and planning, who is Anna Henriquez, and also the committee secretary is Linda Bottas. We are also joined by Ishita Sanji, as well as, I guess, our planner this evening is Rosanna Punit. Good evening. I think that covers everyone. This is a public meeting, and it is being audio and video recorded. It is also being conducted virtually through the use of Zoom technology. Your name, address, comments, and any other personal information are being recorded according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal of Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including on the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk. Please be advised that the reports being considered tonight are available on the town's website and through the staff at the town's planning department. Should you wish to receive notification of any of the decisions of tonight's meeting, please complete the appropriate form available again through town staff. However, owners and agents will automatically be notified. For each application that will be considered this evening, the following process will occur. I will briefly outline the purpose of the application or applications, and then the applicant or agent will be given an opportunity to make a presentation. However, one is not required. It is the applicant's decision whether they wish to speak or let the application proceed on the merits of the information as received. Following any initial comments from the applicant, I will invite members of the public who have an interest in the application to come forward and address the committee. Those members of the public who wish to speak must clearly state their name and address, and you must provide this information to the secretary-treasurer. Should you wish to obtain a copy of the notice of decision, please complete the appropriate form, again available through the secretary-treasurer. Members of the public are reminded that text comments are not permitted during the meeting and that they will not be noted in any manner or at any time. I'll also remind those of you who are following us on the YouTube feed that before you speak, you'll have to come back into the live feed, as there is about a 2-minute lag time between the YouTube feed and the live feed. Each individual may speak only once on an issue, and once discussion has commenced in respect of a motion, no further presentation shall be made. Please ensure that all questions and or comments are directed through me as the chair, and if relevant, I will request the appropriate person respond. It should be noted that the applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to any question or comments should the committee feel that it is appropriate. So we will now commence with the meeting. So I'll look to the committee for approval of the agenda for this evening, please. So I'll look for a motion. Stephen, yes, go right ahead. And yeah.
Yep, thank you. I move that we approve the agenda for this tonight's meeting.
Thank you very much. Seconder? Thank you, Linda. All in favor? Thank you, and that passes. Item 2 on the agenda, declarations of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Seeing all confirmation that there are no declarations there. That's terrific. Thank you all. So I'll look to the committee. We're dealing with the minutes of the meeting held June the 10th, 2021, and that's meeting number 2106. So I'll look to the committee to approve those minutes. Daniel, thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, I move that we approve the adoptions of the minutes from meeting 2106 as circulated.
Thank you very much. Seconder on that? Stephen, yes, thank you. All of those in favor? Thank you very much. So that takes care of the minutes. So we'll move on to the presentation of applications. So the first one this evening is for 25 Bailey Crescent. This is minor variance 2021-14. So this application is requesting, the applicant is requesting relief from the town's zoning, comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to accommodate a rear yard shed. The following relief from the requirements of the town's zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended is as follows. A, section 4.1.1 of the zoning bylaw requires accessory structures to be set back a minimum of 1.0 meters from the rear lot line. The applicant is proposing a storage shed, which is 0.58 meters from the rear lot line. B, section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum side yard setback of 1.2 meters. The applicant is proposing a storage shed, which is set back 0.46 meters away from the side lot line. This application is coming forward as a result of a complaint received regarding the existing shed, which is non-compliance with the rear and interior side yard setbacks. So moving on to the planning department's comments. With regards to the official plan, the existing shed is considered to be in keeping with the surrounding context and character of the existing neighborhood. As such, staff are of the opinion that this variance meets the general intent of the official plan. With regards to the zoning bylaw, the shed at the subject property and sheds at each of the surrounding neighboring properties, 18 and 20 Richardson, as well as 27 Bailey Crescent, are all located along each property's rear yard property line. Because of where each shed is located, staff anticipate no negative impacts to result in regard to the enjoyment of the rear yard amenity space for any of these properties. Therefore, planning staff are of the opinion that the proposed minor variance maintains the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. With regards to the appropriateness of the development, the two neighboring properties to the east also have storage shed located along the shared rear yard property line. A wooden fence also exists on the subject property located along the rear side of the property lines. The neighbor to the south of 27 Bailey Crescent also has a shed located in their rear yard as well. As such, the variances requested are considered to be desirable for the appropriate development and use of the property. With regards to the minor nature of the variances, although the existing shed is located closer to the rear and side yard property lines than the bylaws permit, staff are of the opinion that given the location, scale, and height, the shed is not considered to be visually obtrusive. Staff consider the use to be small in scale and therefore consider it a minor variance in nature. Additional comments that have been received: engineering services, as the construction structure storage shed is close to the property lines, we impose the following condition to ensure that grading/drainage of the adjacent properties are not adversely impacted due to the construction works. And there is a request there for a report from a professional engineer. The building division, a preliminary zoning review was conducted. No comments provided specifically on this application at the time of the preparation of the report. Accessibility advisor, no comments. Traffic analyst, no comments. Operational services and parks have reviewed the documentation for the property associated with the above noted application, have no formal comments. Central York Fire Services, no comments. Legal Services, no comments received. Regional Municipality of York has completed its review and has no comment. Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, no comments. Electric Utilities has reviewed the proposed variance application and have no objections to its approval, subject to their normal conditions, which we are all familiar with. Public correspondence, comments provided expressed no objection to the requested variance. And there are conditions 1 and 2 as outlined in the staff report. Is the owner or applicant with us this evening?
Hi, Tom. I'm so sorry. I should have said something earlier, but you were on the roll. The first application is actually 5 Doty
I
on
am
the
so
agenda,
sorry.
2021-16. And I sent you a couple messages, but it just
All right, I
went
was
through the report.
into, yeah.
Yeah.
My
And so
apologies.
Mr. Perry is admitted to the meeting, and perhaps like in the interest of time, maybe you can just state the purpose of the application and then we can kind of go from there.
Yes, I'm sorry. You know what? And I pulled these up numerically, so my mistake. So
Thanks.
let me go to Mr. Perry. Yeah, I apologize. I have my system set up on an angle, Prashanthi. I apologize. My computer here is, I've got too many files open, so it's just bouncing around. 16.
Through you, Tom. Just for everyone's convenience, Ishita has sent the agenda to the chat. So if anybody just wanted to have that, it's there in the chat function. Thanks.
I'm just having to reopen that file for some reason.
Through you, the chair, if you like, perhaps one of us can read it for you, if you like, if that's if there's any difficulty on your end.
Just give me one more second here. If
Absolutely.
if this doesn't work, I will pass the chair to the vice chair, or but let me just see here. I don't know why this is doing this. All right, I think I've got us figured out here. My apologies, everyone. So let me just quickly go through this. Application for 5 Doty, and this is minor variance 2021-16. And this is for David and Patricia Perry. The applicant is requesting relief from the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the development of a new roof over an existing rear yard deck. The following relief is from the requirements of the town zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended is requested. A, section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard of 4.5 meters. The applicant is proposing to construct a new roof over the existing deck with an interior side yard setback of 2.7 meters. Planning comments on the official plan. Planning staff are of the opinion that development as proposed is in keeping with the character of the neighborhood, and that the proposed variance maintains the general intent of and purpose of the official plan. According to the owner, the deck has existed at the property since at least 1995. Zoning staff have confirmed that the interior side yard setback for the deck on its own is considered legally non-complying. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variance provides a sufficient separation distance between the buildings on abutting properties as the bylaw intends. As such, staff are of the opinion that the requested variance meets the general intent of the zoning bylaw. With regards to the appropriate use of the property, with an interior side yard setback of 2.73 meters at 5 Doty Street, a combined separation distance of approximately 8.673 meters will exist between the two properties, which, in the opinion of staff, is quite generous and helps maintain privacy. Given the scale, height, and location of the existing deck, the proposed roof will not generally be visible from the street. And based on the above, staff are of the opinion that the permitting the subject variance is an appropriate development and use of the land. With regards to it being minor in nature, staff anticipate no negative impacts from a privacy standpoint, and staff consider the variance to be minor in nature. Other comments received from engineering services, no concern with it. Building division, no comments provided specifically on the application. Accessibility advisor, no comments provided. Traffic analyst, no comments provided. Operational service and parks division, no comments provided. Central York Fire Services, no comments provided, as well as legal services, no comments. Regional Municipality of York completed its review of the minor variance and has no comment. Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, no comments provided. Electric Utilities have reviewed the proposed variance application, have no objections to its approval following their typical and normal comments. And there is one recommended condition of approval. And with that, I will ask if the applicant is with us and wishes to speak.
It's David Perry. Yeah, I don't know that I can say too much. Hopefully it's no issue, and I appreciate everybody coming over in the rain to have a quick look.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perry. I don't believe there is anyone here from the public who wishes to address the committee on this application. So I will look to members of the committee if there are any comments or questions from anyone here. Seeing none, this I guess this application is pretty straightforward. The information that was provided is sufficient for us to make a recommendation to bring it forward. So I'll look to the committee then for a recommendation, please. David, thank you very much. Go right ahead.
Through the chair, I move that application MV-2021-16 be approved and subject to the condition in the staff's report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll look for a seconder on that motion. Stephen, yes, thank you. And I'll call the question. All of those in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. Sorry for the confusion, Mr. Perry, but we got through that one. And I wish you a very good evening and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. All right. So moving forward, and I think I've got my sequencing and numbers back where it should be here. So the next application that we have is minor variance application for Mr. Ha at 350 Murray Drive. This is minor variance 2021-15. The owner applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the construction of an above-ground pool. The following relief is being requested. A, Section 13.1, notes 1 and 2 specifies no building or structure shall be erected in environmental protection EP zone except for structures accessory to uses permitted and subject to public authority approval. Looking at planning comments with regards to the official plan, the proposed above ground pool is in keeping with the intent of the official plan and does not require an official plan amendment. So staff are satisfied that the variance meets the intent of the OP. Zoning bylaw. There is one comment that I will refer to us to this evening, and that is that the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority has advised that the owner has obtained a LSRCA permit, and the permit bit number being AP 2021.022 for the proposed pool, and that they have no objection to the application for minor variance, subject to conditions of approval. Given that the existing dwelling was permitted in the previous zoning bylaw, the dwelling has legal conforming status, and the proposed pool is accessory to the existing dwelling. Staff are of the opinion that the general intent of the zoning bylaw is being maintained. With regards to the desirability for the appropriate development of the property, staff are of the opinion that the location of the above ground pool is appropriate given the LSRCA's review and permit issuance. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed variance is desirable for and appropriate for the development of the property. Relative to the minor nature, the proposed pool location will not require the removal of vegetation or impact the subject lands or abutting properties. Staff are of the opinion that the minor variance is considered minor in nature. Additional comments from the building division. Preliminary zoning review was completed on April the 21st, 2021. Engineering division, no concerns with the application. Operational services, no comments on the proposed minor variance application. Central York Fire Services, no comments received. York Region has no comments on the application. LSRCA comments on the application and its location within the area governed by OREG 179-06 under the Conservation Authorities Act. So the permit has been issued. Electric utilities comments have been reviewed at the time of the writing of this report, and there are conditions outlined with this application. So good evening, and I'll ask if the applicant wishes to address the committee. And welcome.
Hello there. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Please go right ahead.
Okay, my name is V. My family moved up to Aurora about 4 years ago, and we've decided that we'd like to stay. I have a 17-year-old special needs son. He's on the autism spectrum, and with COVID and everything, recreational activities have been zero. So for us to stay, we're looking to install this pool so that he has some things that he can enjoy with the on the house. And we love Aurora. I've opened 2 businesses in the area, and we intend to stay a long time. So then I guess my wife says, if I want to stay, then we need to have some amenities, and this is the only reason why we're doing it. The process is the process. It seems quite long, but I'm just I'm just following what the guidelines are outlined.
I appreciate that. Yes, I can understand. To you, this would obviously appear to be very minor in nature. It's an above ground pool, but being located where you are, I can understand as well the requirements that bring you before the committee this evening. So again, I do not believe that there are any delegates from the public who wish to address the committee. Seeing none. All right, I'll look to members of the committee for any comments or questions of the applicant. So I was, I don't see anything immediate from members of the committee, but I just, I had a quick tour of the property in the rain. And I noticed that will there be a I'll just ask staff, will there be a requirement for fencing for this particular pool?
I had the pool enclosure requirements, because it's above ground pool, as long as I'm 48 inches above because the pool is 52 inches above the base.
Right.
The requirement is that it's 4 feet high, so that's non-climbable, and the solids, the surface, the surrounding area is steel. It's non-climbable. The ladder will be lockable. So that's what the guideline I was following from the building department.
Okay, and the reason I bring it up is I noticed that on the property that the side of your house next to your neighbor, that's open. There's a tree line there, and that is also what we would consider open. But across the south end of your property, there is a wall that's got to be at least 4.5 or 5 feet high. And I was wondering if the intent was to fence the side and then from the neighboring properties back to your house, fencing it. But if there is no requirement for fencing, I guess when you go to install the pool, whatever the municipal requirements are for minimum heights, that will be respected.
Yes, I'm just following the guidelines from the building department.
Let me just ask staff then, is there a building permit required for an above ground pool?
Through the chair, I know there is a pool enclosure permit required as part of the process. And that would be required for this one.
Okay, so again, it's not a condition of approval, but just to bring it forward in terms of safety. And you did mention, sir, that the pool ladder is lockable, and it will be locked, I suppose, when the pool is not being used.
Sure.
Okay. And you're aware of the conditions of approval? There are 2 to the applicant.
Sorry, is there other conditions?
Yeah, I'll, if you wish, I can just let you know what they are.
Sure.
So these are recommended conditions of approval. So if a motion does come forward to approve, it will probably be subject to these. So let me just go through that for you. So that condition number 1 is that the variance applies to the subject property in substantial conformity with the plans attached as Appendix B. So that's your site plan and the plans that you've provided us with. Dated February the 4th, 2021, to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Development Services. So those plans would then be part of this variance. The second one is that the owner-provider report, along with a grading and drainage plan prepared by a professional engineer demonstrating that the drainage pattern on site has been maintained and that the structure and any associated grading work completed at the site shall not cause any adverse impacts on the drainage of adjacent properties to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Development Services. So there is a concern that was brought forward that relates to any changes to grading and or drainage. And that would be something that you would have to satisfy with the Director of Planning and Development to their satisfaction. And I know you're familiar with that condition. And I'm wondering, is that something that we should make sure that the applicant is aware of and is subject to?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to, I think we might be reading the wrong condition.
I am sorry, I've skipped.
And that's the only reason why I put my camera on. I think the second condition was that they agree to pay the development fees for the LSRCA. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm.
It's okay.
Is this going to be one of those nights? I guess it already is. My apologies. You know what? I got to the end of the application, sir, and I went to the next one and was scrolling down. My apologies. All right. So you're aware then the condition then that that Anna just brought forward, and I'm sure that that's not a problem.
Was that the fee that I paid to Simcoe Regional for the permit?
Yes.
Okay, so that's
You've
already
already done that.
Okay.
I'll look to the members. Oh, David, please.
Yeah, through the chair, there are actually 2 conditions.
Yeah.
Just to say, there are 2 conditions, not 1 condition, there are 2 conditions.
Correct. Yeah, thank you for bringing that forward. So I'll look to the committee then for a motion on the application. Daniel, please.
Thank you, through the chair. It would seem that Michelle was your good luck charm.
Right.
So through the chair, I move that we approve the minor variance MV 2021-15 as outlined in the staff report with the 2 discussed conditions of approval as outlined on page number 6 of the report. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for a seconder on that motion. David, thank you very much. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Pardon the confusion, I apologize again. And,
no worries.
And you're all set.
I'm sure these Zoom meetings aren't so fun. They're better in person.
Thank you for recognizing that. And yes, they are much easier to manage, trust me. And we've been doing this for over a year now. You would think I would have this down pat. However, thank you very much for being with us this evening. And I'll move on to the one item on our agenda that keeps haunting me. And this is minor variance application 2021-14. And this is at 25 Bailey Crescent. And because I have entered all of the prerequisite information into the record, what I will do is just quickly summarize the application for everyone. Again, the applicant is requesting relief from the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 is amended to accommodate a rear yard shed. The following relief from the requirements of the town's zoning bylaw 6000-17 is amended is as follows. A, section 4.1.1 of the zoning bylaw requires accessory structures to be set back a minimum of 1 meter from the rear lot line. The applicant is proposing a storage shed which is 0.58 meters from the rear lot line. B, section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum side yard of 1.2 meters. The applicant is proposing a storage shed which is set back 0.46 meters away from the sideline. Is the applicant with us this evening? And yes.
Yes, we are.
Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Thank you.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
So do you wish to make a presentation to the committee or add anything, any information for us this evening?
Not really, just something after you. If you have any question for me, I have only one something I want to mention it before I talking. I apologizing for my language if I cannot use the right word. I applied this application almost a year ago, and one time they lost my file, and I figure out everything. I have to get the help from other people to fill up the application and apply again. And around months ago, they sent a letter to I have to pay for the fee, and they asked me for new because the fees changed this year from January. So this application is almost started a year ago. That's the only thing I'm concerned if with this situation, they want me to pay the fee for new fee, which is, they change it at January. That's the only thing I'm concerned. Otherwise, if you have any question.
Okay, that's okay. I'll ask it, and I don't believe, let me just check. I don't believe that there is anyone here from the public who wishes to address the committee. So I'll look to members of the committee. I've got a couple of things that have come up here. So I'll look to the committee then for any comments, questions. Stephen, yes.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't have any questions for the applicant. I just wanted to note for the record that while there aren't any delegates, I believe we received some letters of support for this application, and it looks like, just looking at them now, it looks like they're on both abutting properties to the east and the west, and the ones behind, if I'm reading this properly, 23 Bailey, 27 Bailey, 18 Richardson, and 20 Richardson. So that's the only comment that I would make, and I think that's consistent with the staff report as well about the adjacent properties.
Okay. Yeah, that's correct.
That's all I have. I just, through you, Mr. Chair, I just thought that should be in the record. I don't know if I don't believe we had mentioned those.
You're correct, Steve. Thank you for bringing that forward. I saw Daniel, you had your hand up, so please go right ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. I believe as well, this question should probably be best answered by the town. And it's a continuation on Steve's comment. There is documented support for all 4 properties that are touching this shed. However, this seems to be the result of, or at least it's documented, the result of a complaint. And I don't want to request any information that is private. All I'm going to ask regarding that is were the issues that were brought up in the complaint, have they been resolved to the satisfaction of the town? I know that the town has provided its recommendations, but I'm just curious regarding the complaint, as it seems to be what initiated this process.
Through the chair, with the application, with a minor variance coming in, that would alleviate the complaint. That's what I would answer that question to.
Okay, so I guess the best way to answer my question is simply that with the minor variance and the town's comment, the complaint note should be ignored.
Yes, so they'd have to apply for a permit as mentioned in the report, which wasn't applied for. So that would be required.
Okay, that answers it in a way. Thank you very much.
Any
All
other?
good, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Daniel. Anything from any of the other members of the committee? No, I'm going to jump in here. So I noticed that the shed has yet to be completed. Was there a stop order? A stop work order issued? I'll just ask staff, because it looks like the existing shed is still under construction. Was there a stop order, a stop work order issued? Do we know?
Oh, you want me to answer?
Well, I'm asking staff if they're aware. So
Through the chair, I would have to check, but if a complaint came in, the town would review it, and that's why we are where we are today.
Okay. I'll ask the applicant, did you receive an order from the town to stop construction?
They didn't say stop. They didn't say anything, but I stopped myself because I was worried if it's something wrong and I have to put it down. That's why I stopped to working on it to see what's the final answer from the town.
And to the applicant, it looks like there was a shed back there that was built right up to the property line. Am I correct?
Yes, it was the old shed, and the reason I had a problem because the child go playing, and this shed was so old, almost the age of the house, and it was a house of lot of mines because the base was the wood. And so I decided to, because the most of the time the kid goes in the back and play, to fix it and put the base concrete, so get rid of all the mines and the animal they come. And plus it was against the fence. It was right at the fence. So I bring it ahead. I didn't know the law at the Aurora, it says 1 meter. I thought I asked a couple of people at Richmond Hill and a friend, they told me 2 feet away almost. And that was my mistake.
Okay. Well, if that was your mistake, sir, I would hazard a guess and say that there are a number of other very similar mistakes all around you. It looks like, and in the staff report, it's very clear that it would appear that the other accessory structures are certainly built very close to the property line, if not on the property line in some of those other cases. In your case, it looks like you've actually corrected another problem that you had, and that is there is an easement across the back of your property in favor of utilities, I believe, and it looks like now you're very close to it, but you've certainly improved that situation by moving it outside of the easement. So I think that's an improvement. I've got to go back to staff on something, however. The applicant has indicated that this application is over a year old. Were the fees paid originally with the application that went in to staff?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can provide a response to that. So the building inspector did bring it to my attention that he issued a order to comply for 25 Bailey Crescent, and the order was issued on October 19th. And typically with these orders to comply, there is a compliance date. And so the building inspector noted in the order to comply that the compliance date is no later than November 23rd, 2020. However, I've been in constant communication with the owners and trying to get them to make their application because, like, as you know, to make a minor variance application, a preliminary zoning review is a mandatory submission material. And so without getting all the necessary submission materials, we weren't able to put it on the next available agenda. And because that was later on in the year, eventually, like, just trying to get the necessary materials, like, that didn't happen. And then we went into the new calendar year 2021, and every year our application fees are updated. And so application fees weren't collected initially in November or December in 2020. But when I finally got all the materials that would form a complete application, that's when we had charged the applicants the 2021 application fee for the minor variance.
So what was the increase in the fee then between last year and this year? Do you know that offhand?
I can check, but okay, just 1 second.
So if I understand the applicant, he's looking to, I guess, in his mind, the application went in, but his comment said that it was lost. And let me ask the applicant, is it the difference between what would have been charged versus the increase today? Is that what you're not asking us to waive the fee completely, are you?
No. I'm more comfortable because the town lost my file one time. I would like, if I can pay the 2019, which I just started, it's, for me, is more comfortable because right now, because of COVID, my wife is she was working. Right now she's not working to keep the kid in the house, and I'm have a little bit difficulty.
I see.
Financial.
I understand.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So the 2021 fee, so because 25 Bailey is located within the Oak Ridges Marine Settlement Area, the Oak Ridges Marine fee applies. And so for 2020, the fee that was collected was $2,067. And for 2021, $2,067. But in 2020, I think the application fee for minor variance for properties within the Oak Ridges Marine was $1,700, around that area. And just to clarify, the application was just never lost. It was just never in a position that it could be scheduled for the next committee meeting because we weren't submitted all the necessary required documents for us to be able to put it on an agenda.
Okay. So regardless of whether it was lost, it was an incomplete application. Am I understanding that correct?
Correct. The application form itself and the submission materials were incomplete, so we weren't in a position to deem it complete for it to be put on agenda. And the application fees are only collected when the application is ready to be officially taken in.
Okay, thank you for that. All right. I think that clarifies the questions that I had on this application. So because these have come before the committee in the past, what I would suggest we do is deal with the minor variance first. And if the committee feels it wants to review your request, sir, we can do that after. Steve, I noticed you had your hand up. Was I circumventing?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I had a question regarding the fee, but I think your suggestion makes all the sense, so I'll hold off on that.
Okay. David, further comment?
Through the chair, the fee has nothing to do with the question we have here. What we have here is the two minor variances which we are reviewing to deal with. The fee has nothing to do with this as members to consider. So let's separate the things. We're dealing with two minor variances which we are supposed to review and approve. What I see is the applicant is just giving history about what has happened before. That it was, maybe it was delayed and, they had paid fees and has been asked fees. This is just talking about what has happened. It has nothing to do with the approval of these two minor variances. We have two variances here. This is about the shade, about those distances we're looking at. So let's not bring something which has very little relevance to the minor variances we're dealing with. That's what I want to say here. We're bringing in another item, totally different from what is as a minor variance.
Right. And that's why we would have to deal with it separately, David. We can't mix the two.
Yeah, but that's not through the chair. This is not in part of it's not even mentioned as part of the application. It's bringing up something which is not in the application. The application is those two minor variances. Has nothing, the violence has nothing to do with about the fees. There's nothing mentioned about the fees in the minor variance. So we're going away from what is being asked in the application. We're straying. We're bringing on new things altogether.
Okay. Appreciate your position on that. So what I'll do is I will ask for if there is a motion on this particular application from members of the committee. David.
Through the chair, I move that the application, the minor variance application MV-2021-14 be approved, subject to the conditions in the staff's report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll look to the committee for a seconder. Linda, thank you very much. So calling the question, all of those in favor? And that passes. Thank you very much. So with regards to the applications that we have reviewed, those have been approved by the committee, sir. And we thank you for attending the meeting this evening, and I wish you a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Yes, Stephen.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe, and to David's comments, I believe that in the past we have handled requests, and it is within the mandate of the committee to hear requests for reduction in fees or elimination in fees associated with minor variance applications. So I certainly do support separating, but I do have some questions on the town's process and, the fact that the fees were increased.
Agreed.
Yeah, so let me just go to staff here on this one. Anna, we have in the past, we've waived fees for various reasons. And in this particular case, he's not asking for us to waive the fees entirely. He's asking us to consider waiving the annual increase between last year and this year. We have done it in the past, but I want to make sure that if we do entertain this, that you're aware of that and that it is within our power to do so.
Through you, Mr. Chair, you are correct. It is within the committee's authority to waive or reduce fees. However, I will say that I didn't hear that request specifically come from the applicant. Typically, it's something that they ask for, and I did not hear that this evening. Perhaps you did. I'm just putting it on record. I didn't hear that. So, but you are right. It is within the committee's purview to make that decision to waive or reduce fees.
So let me just re-clarify. I thought that is what you were asking at the onset before we even really got into your discussion, sir. And I think I actually went back and asked for that clarification. Am I correct in that to the applicant?
Oh, I'm sorry. Say again. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I thought before we actually got into talking about the variances themselves that you asked about the fees and the difference in the fees between last year and this year, and that there was an increase that you were aware of. And I see your wife is shaking her head. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you touched on that, and I think I picked up on it as well. So with that, it is within our power to do so, and we can look at that. Dan, you've had your hand up there for a while, so.
No, I was just, sorry, through the chair, I was just going to maybe suggest an explicit request from the applicant. And I know that he has requested at the beginning of our session together some support with language, and English being my second language as well, I can fully understand. But maybe we can phrase it in a way and get an agreement from the applicant. And I would suggest the following sentence, that the applicant is requesting that the fee to be paid for this application be of the 2020 pricing and not of the 2021 pricing, because this process began in the 2020 calendar. Would you agree, Mr. Chair? And if so, should we pass that sentence on to the applicant?
So I would, thank you, Danielle. I would concur, and that we would entertain that type of a request then made officially by the applicant.
Yeah.
So back to the applicant then. You heard the comment that was made by the vice chair.
Yes.
We're suggesting that you make a formal request along the lines that you just heard.
Yes, exactly. I requested, if it's possible, I pay the fee for 2020, which I start the application.
Okay, thank you. Question then back to staff. Prashanthi has, or Anna, has the fee already been paid for this application? It must have been paid in order for us to be considering the application. Am I correct?
Through the chair, the fee has been paid. The 2020 fee has been paid and it's been processed.
2020 or 2021?
Sorry, I'm sorry, 2021 fee. So the 2067 fee, as per the 2021 minor variance application fee, has been paid and processed.
Okay. All right, so we're asking then for a refund of the difference. All right. So I'll look to the committee. Stephen, yes.
Yeah, I just have a few questions through you, Mr. Chair, and to staff. So, because I think we need to be careful with this, because otherwise we're going to have an onslaught of every application having some a request that has started. But what I heard in this situation is that the application was provided to staff, and that I don't know, sir, was it provided as part of at the same time as the building permit was requested? So how I guess to the applicant, how did you provide the application to staff?
They ask me, they email me, I take a little bit time to get help from my friend. I fill it up and put in the envelope. I take it to the town and drop it in the box at the Corona time.
Okay.
So after a few weeks, and then they ask me again. That's why I thought that maybe they lost it.
Yeah.
And I go over all over again, application, fill it up, and put it in an envelope and drop it at the town.
Okay, and thank you. And so to staff, so did you receive that original physical application? Was that the process at the time?
Through the chair, applicants and owners have the opportunity to make hard copy submissions and digital submissions. And when the initial minor variance application was made we probably got the first hard copy submission November of 2020. It was brought over to me. And through my review, the application was incomplete. A preliminary zoning review letter or stamped drawings weren't provided. And so I had communicated that over to the owners. And I've been in constant communication since November 2020 up until us being here together. Because I mean, when the initial application was made in 2020, the application form was incomplete. But by the time I got the revised 2020 application form from the owner, we had updated our not only our application fee, but we also made some minor revisions to the application form itself, which warranted some additional information. And just, I mean, generally, if you're making an application in 2021, we'd like to have the most up-to-date and most recent application form provided to us. And so the application form or nothing was ever lost per se. There was just, I guess, a miscommunication on what was required and what was expected. And because by the time I received the complete application package, it was in the new calendar year. So that's why the 2021 application fee was requested, because that was the time that the application was made.
Thank you. So just to summarize, Vashanti, so it sounds like the application form was incomplete and then there was a miscommunication, and in the process, the form actually changed, the town form actually changed, requiring a second update, if you will, of the information. So it sounds like this was a bit of an atypical case. Would that be fair?
Through the chair, this is pretty common when people start an application in a year, and then by the time they make their submission, it's the next calendar year. But I made sure to provide the owner on numerous occasions with the correct link and make sure that I'm like going through every single section, just to explain like the purpose of that section and how it should be filled out. And I've previously mentioned, I've been emailing the owners constantly since November 2020. I've also engaged in phone calls with them, and I've been trying to make this process as seamless as possible. Yeah.
No, fair enough. I think my comment was, it sounds like the actual form changed through the process and required additional information as
Correct.
well.
Correct. Which they were provided with on numerous occasions as well.
Understandably, I think that also added to, it sounds like it added a delay in the process as well. So it just sounds to me a somewhat atypical process and change that would have occurred. So thanks. That's all I have. I'm pretty clear on this, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, I can imagine that this can happen, especially during times when changes to forms are being made and the fee structure does change, as Prashanthi has mentioned, that it gets revised probably on a yearly basis, and it depends on when the application is complete. Linda, I did notice that your hand was up before. Are you okay? All right. I think we've got enough information then based on staff's input, and I thank you, Prashanthi. And it's up to the committee to decide if it wishes to take any action on this any further. So I will look to the committee if there is anything that we would like to do on this one. Daniel,
Point
yes.
of clarity. Sorry, through the chair, just a point of clarity. Sorry, David. I'm not bringing a motion forward. I'm just asking a question, if you don't mind, David. Do we move a motion forward in either direction, or simply one that changes things? So if no motion is brought forward, does that mean status quo?
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, if there was
Thank
no
you, Mr.
motion,
Chair.
yeah, I would think that the only motion that we would be making would be one to refund. If there is no motion coming forward, then the status quo is maintained. The fee has been paid. David, you had your hand up.
Yes, basically I wanted to have that clarification because there's no motion, there's nothing being described what to vote on. So that was my question, which Daniel actually, I think he read my mind. But there's nothing. What was the motion? What is it we're going to talk about? Or debate about or approve?
Right. So all we've done is we've discussed it, David. And so I will once again, is there a motion from the members of the committee? Stephen?
No, Tom, I was just saying, would we, through you, Mr. Chair, would we not need a motion for or against this? Is it similar to a minor variance application to either approve or deny?
Look to staff.
I'm just confused here. Would we not? There should be a clear approval or denial, not just an absence. I think if we don't have a motion that carries in a minor variance application, then we by default submit a motion to defeat the request.
Okay, so with that, I'll look for a motion one way or the other from members of the committee. David.
No, through the chair was something else, not really a motion. My proposal would be that the minor variance which was on front of us, we have dealt with it. This fee thing, we can say the applicant should resolve this with the staff. The staff have got a mechanism of how they deal with fees and so on. That would be my request.
I think staff have already made the decision, David, on that. They've accepted the fee based on the 2021 fee schedule. And am I correct on that? You have accepted the fee based on the 2021 fee schedule, which is what you would typically do. Am I correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct. But I will add that we also did not receive a request for a refund or reduction in fee. So we really haven't had an opportunity to consider that request either.
Is that something then that staff can exercise in and of its own right within the town structure?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I do believe that it can be resolved at the staff level. It may be resolved.
It may be resolved. I guess we could resolve it if there was a motion brought forward to reduce it, and that would resolve it here, or the applicant could, failing our motion, take it up further than with the town. Okay. Having said that, I see a hand rise. David. Sorry, Daniel.
Thank you. Through you, through the chair, I move that we unfortunately do not offer at this time a reduction in the fee. However, I would like it noted that I would welcome the applicant to reach out to the town and request a form of or a discussion to that point, but I do not believe that it is on the committee to do so today.
So there is a motion that makes the recommendation that the committee not undertake a reduction to the fee, but suggest to the applicant that should they wish, they can pursue it further with the town at the administrative level. So I'll look to the committee for a seconder on that motion. David seconded. I'll call the question. All of those in favor of the motion as presented? Against? All right, so the motion carries. So to the applicant, this committee is not going to bring a reduction to your fee. I'll note that it is not unanimous in as much as 2 members of the committee voted against it. So with that, I would suggest then that you make an official request to the town of Aurora, should you wish to take it further, and make that request. In the meantime, the committee has unanimously approved your request for the variances. So I'll thank you for coming here before the committee, and I'll wish you a very good evening.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, moving on to the next application, one that I haven't previewed in any way, shape, or form. This is application MV 2021-17. This is for 1270 Vandorf Side Road. And the application, the owner applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's zoning, comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the development of 2 additions to the existing dwelling, an open-sided roofed porch, a balcony, and a deck extension. The following relief is being requested. A, Section 18.1.2I of the zoning bylaw provides that uncovered decks and minor additions, including open-sided roof porches and balconies, may be permitted on legally existing residential lots, provided that they do not exceed 50 square meters on the ground and are located outside the key natural heritage features and hydrological sensitive features. The applicant is proposing to construct 2 ground floor additions, an open-sided roof porch, deck, and balcony with a total ground floor area of 75.01 square meters. Just on the 4th line down, the subject property and area context, just a typo, I believe, where it refers to the lot frontage of 253.67, it shouldn't be meters squared, it just should be meters. I believe that was just a typo, but I wanted to point that out. And also, in accordance with the submitted drawings and preliminary zoning review, the proposed construction will result in a total of 75.01 square meters or 807.4 square feet on the ground, with no tree removals are proposed. Going down to planning comments with regards to the official plan, it indicates that the proposed development does not impede the movement. And again, I think there's a glitch in the staff report here. It does not impede the movement of plants and animals among the KNHFs or KHFs on the property. That's in subparagraph 1 from planning comments. I'm not sure what plans should have read, but I don't think it would impede plans in any way, shape, or form. Further, with regards to the official plan, the proposed development and site alteration is located outside of the minimum vegetation protection zones to the KNHFs and KHFs. The proposed development is located within the geographical footprint of the existing development, and the scope of the proposed development and site alteration is minor in nature. Therefore, the proposed development and site alteration is not anticipated to have a negative impact on the KNHFs and the KHFs located on the subject property. Therefore, staff are of the opinion that the requested variants meet the general intent of the official plan. With regards to the zoning bylaw, staff in consultation with the LSRCA have confirmed that the proposed development will not result in any adverse impacts to the Oak Ridges Moraine or any features on the subject property. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variance meets the general intent of the zoning bylaw. With regards to the appropriate development of the property, the proposed development is modest in nature, will not adversely affect any neighboring properties. Therefore, staff are of the opinion that the proposed variance is desirable for the appropriate development of the property. With regards to the variances being minor, the proposed variance seeks to permit development that is in keeping with the dwelling within the area on the subject lands that is already in a disturbed state. No adverse impacts on the streetscape, adjacent properties, or the KNHFs or KHFs are anticipated. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variances is minor in nature. Further comments that have been received: the building division completed its preliminary zoning review on June 14th, 2021, and confirmed the variances that are required. Engineering division have reviewed the application, have no objections. Operational services reviewed the documentation for the property associated with the above and have no formal comments. Central York Fire Services, no comments received. The Region of York has completed its review of the application with no comments. LSRCA, the proposal is generally consistent and in conformity with the natural heritage and natural hazard policies of the applicable provincial and regional plans. LSRCA planning and natural heritage ecologist have reviewed the submitted information, determined that a scoped natural heritage evaluation is not required for the proposed development and site alteration. And therefore, they recommend that any approval of this application for minor variance be subject to the conditions as outlined. Electra, there have been no concerns with the proposed minor variance, and there were no written comments received at the time of writing of the report. There are conditions of approval recommended for this application. So with that, I'll ask the applicant or agent if they wish to make a presentation, and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Good evening, committee members. My name is Saba Al-Mathnou from QBS Architects. I am the agent. What we have before you here is a very minor variance. What we are doing here is basically enclosing the existing front porch and making it livable and just building a new porch in front of it. And in the back, we are acquiring some of the existing porch and also adding it to the livable and adding a few uncovered porches. So the area 75 square meter actually includes the porches. It's not only livable area. So we are here through you because of the Oak Ridges Marine 1 variance that dictates 50 square meter of any addition. Could be deck, could be livable. So this is why we are in front of you today. And we are aware of all of the conditions, which is the application fee and application for building permit. And absolutely, we will be proceeding with that once we get your approval, hopefully.
Thank you very much. I do not believe that there is anyone here from the public that wishes to speak on this particular application. So seeing none, I'll ask members of the committee if there are any comments or questions to the applicant. Stephen, yes, please go right ahead.
Yeah, no, actually, just a comment. You know, I was able to visit the property today. I think it's a beautiful property, very large, isolated property, and you know, the area of disturbance from, you know, in the LSRCA zone is already rather extensive, and this is well within the property development that's already been developed. And also, while I do know, just addressing the minor nature of it, because when you, I think if you're looking at the application in percentage terms, it appears to be quite significant. But when you look at the scale of the proposal in terms of the existing home, I find it does make quite a bit of sense. So I am supportive of this application. And sometimes my point is, everything that you see on paper is not without seeing the context of the property. You may get the wrong impression reading this application, and I think it is in fact minor in the context of the property. So I just felt that should be noted.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, I would totally agree with you on your comment there. Is there anyone else who wishes to comment or bring any question forward to the applicant? No. This is just, I guess, an observation more than anything as well. If this had come in two pieces and the disturbance was less than 50 square meters and you did it separate, you wouldn't require these variances. So,
we wanted to go on for building permits.
I'm sorry?
We wanted to go to building permit, and so we did the right thing. We applied for the zoning review, identified that. So we are happy that we are here today.
Well, you're taking care of everything in one shot, and I commend you for doing it that way.
Thank you.
I just when I saw it, I thought, hey, if it's 50 square meters, why wouldn't I do it?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, I just agree with Steve. When I looked at it in context of the entire property and where these additions and changes were being proposed, in terms of scale, it certainly made sense, and it works, and it is a gorgeous property, no question, and I think that the proposed additions enhance that, and so I'm certainly intending on supporting it as well. Look to the committee then for a motion on this application. Stephen, please go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I move that with respect to minor variance application 2021-17, 1270 Van Dorp Side Road, that we approve the application subject to the conditions as outlined in Appendix A of the staff report.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Let's go with Linda this time. Second the motion, and I'll call the question. All of those in favor, and that's unanimous. So that's terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you for being with us, and wish you a good evening.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the next item in the agenda, and this is item 5, and this pertains to 45 Eric T. Smith Way. This is 65 ETS GP Inc. Minor variance application 2021-19.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you. All right. So, Brad, I hope you're moving from the YouTube video. Just before we get to, okay, have we gone to the live feed, everyone on this application? Because we're not getting feedback now. All right, so I'll begin. Okay. The owner applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the construction of a multi-unit industrial building. The following relief is being requested. A, section 10.2, minimum landscape provisions for business park E, brackets E-BP of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum landscape strip of 3 meters along the west property line. The landscape strip along the west property line is 1.5 meters at its smallest width. So the official plan designates the property business park. It is within the official plan amendment 30, OPA 30. Planning comments with regards to the official plan, staff are of the opinion that the overall design of the building and function of the site are not negatively affected by the reduced landscape strip to 1.5 meters on the west side of the property. Staff are of the opinion that the overall prestige image of the business park is being maintained, thereby meeting the general intent of the official plan. With regards to the zoning bylaw, staff are of the opinion that the proposed reduction in the minimum required landscape strip on the west property line will provide adequate buffering and still achieve high quality vegetation planting that will add to the overall prestige of the area. With regards to it being appropriate development of the property, staff are of the opinion that the requested variance is desirable and appropriate development of the property. With regards to it being considered minor, through the site plan process, staff will ensure that the plantings along the 1.5 meter landscape strip are provided and to ensure their viability in accordance with the town's landscape design standards. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variance is considered minor. Other departments and agencies circulated. Building Division completed its preliminary zoning review on May 31st, 2021. Engineering Division, no concerns on the application. Operational Services is agreeable to reducing the landscape strip from 3 meters to 1.5 meters. The 1.5 meter landscape strip shall be planted as per the landscape design standards with trees selected according to site conditions. That the topsoil within the 1.5 meter landscape strip shall have a minimum depth of 600 millimeters to promote optimal conditions for vegetation health. And there is a memo associated with that dated June the 28th, 2021. Central York Fire Services, no comments received. Region of York, no comments on the application. LSRCA, no comments on the application as it is located outside of the area governed by OREG 179-06 under the Conservation Authorities Act. And Electra Utilities comments have been received at the time of the report in an email dated June 15th, 2021. No written submissions were received. And there are conditions of approval, and there's only one, and that is that the variance applies only to the subject property in substantial conformity with the plan as attached as Appendix B to the staff report and to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Development Services. And I do believe that the zoning, going back to the staff report, that the subject property is zoned E-BP 349. There is a site exception to the property in question and that provides for the floor area ratio of the area of the office to be increased from 17 to a maximum of 50%. And so I just wanted to point that out, that there is that exception in the zoning. I'll look to the applicant. Good evening, gentlemen, and welcome. I believe I know Brad Rogers quite well. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brad Rogers on behalf of Groundswell. Nice to see you again. Tom, we are the applicant or the agent for the owner for this reduced landscaping strip from 3 to 1.5. And we have had some discussions with staff in regards to enhancing some plantings in the area through the site plan process. And there's also an easement at the rear of the lands, which would provide a trail system connection to other trails in the area. So we believe that the application is minor in nature. Heath from our office was the one who submitted the application, did a lot of the research in the area. There are some similar applications. Both Heath and I are pleased to answer any questions that the committee may have on this. And I'm not sure, Heath, if there's anything in addition to that you want to say, but we're satisfied with the staff report and pleased that staff are recommending approval.
No, I agree with everything you said, Brad, and yeah, we agree with staff's recommendation.
Terrific. Thank you, gentlemen. And I don't believe that there are any delegations for this item. So I'll look to the committee for any comments or questions. David, yes.
Hi, just wondering, actually, there are comments by operational services and the comments and the breakpoints, the second and the third breakpoints. I'm just wondering why those are not included as conditions. Is it that they have been already agreed by the applicant and the town, and then therefore there will be no issue? Because the way I'm seeing it, they look like conditions. They are stating like the second breakpoint, 1.5 landscape strip shall be planted as per the landscape design standards, blah, blah, blah. And the second one also says topsoil will be within the 1.5 landscape shall have a minimum depth. When I'm reading those, they look like conditions of approval. So I'm just wondering, maybe they were missed, or there's an arrangement between the town staff and the client that have agreed that this is going to be done, or they're certain that this will be done.
So let's ask staff then to respond to that. Rosanna, can you elaborate on that, please?
Yes, through the chair, through the site plan process, we will ensure that this is done. We won't get site plan approval if they don't do these couple items. So it might be exhaustive to add them as conditions again.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up, David. I appreciate that. Any other question, David, or can we?
No, that's it. That's it. Thank you very much for the answer.
Yeah. Anyone else from the committee? I see some hesitant hands going up, but let's start with you, Daniel. If you're ready, I'm ready.
Take you through the chair. Yes, I'm still having a hard time phrasing this in my head, so I apologize if this comes out as alphabet soup, and I apologize I didn't say through the chair. So through the chair, these comments or this general thought is regarding the applicant's stated reason for not complying with the bylaw, and if I look at the reason makes sense to me as to why they're asking for that. But what I'm sort of alluding to is, why are we in the position that we are here today? If I look at the plan, there's obviously a need for the extra space in order to move the vehicles around. Are we in a position where the property, the building is such was when the property was designed, the flow of traffic wasn't well taken into account based on the amount of space available. Were there other factors, and maybe the question is not specific to what happened in the past, but more of a comment regarding that there might be some thought put into this new geography of Aurora, where we're going to be spending a lot of time on the industrial side to make sure that the larger vehicles are taken into account with the available real estate, the desired amount of building space, and to make sure that the space does follow, that there's enough room for vehicles. Because looking at the site plan, there was no option but to come to us eventually to request this. So I guess that's my general comment. I'll leave to the town if you want to say anything, but if not, it's more of a general comment at this time.
Let me go back to the applicant then. I guess I would have probably brought this up as well. If I look at the site plan, and I come down, it is, 1.5 at its narrowest. I'm assuming that the widest is at towards the street where it widens out, where the entrance or exit is, where most of the truck traffic is coming in and going out, or even just actually probably more than anything. It probably is two-way there. The building actually does a jog right at the street, where it does start with the loading docks as it moves back towards the rear of the building. Then there's a further jog where I thought maybe they could have widened that landscape strip out along that point to provide a little bit more green down the side of the building. I don't know if the applicant can comment on that, which is what I think in part Daniel is bringing up.
I'm happy to comment, Mr. Chair, through you. What's being proposed here is somewhat unique in that these individual units would have both a loading dock and parking spaces on the front. The actual circulation obviously is important to go around the property and around the building. I know that the applicant has spent a lot of time with the town on the site plan application, and this is what was recommended both by the landscape architect. It was agreeable to town staff, and it's to accommodate different sized vehicles, but it's also to accommodate what our applicant believes is a need that doesn't currently exist in Aurora. As you know, this area is evolving quite nicely. There's a new street that's being proposed, and with the police headquarters and the York Regional Police Building just down the street, and the two new hotels that have been built. This is really a prestigious area in Aurora, and we're just trying to add a use that currently doesn't exist in the neighborhood, and it's something that our applicant felt that was important to make sure that the parking, there was enough parking, and unfortunately the landscape strip is something that we agreed to do some enhanced landscaping, perhaps even in the boulevard in front of the building as a result of the reduced strip from 3 meters to 1.5.
So if I do come down the building and look at the jog back, I'm assuming, and correct me really, gentlemen, if I'm wrong, but the jog that increases the loading area, the depth of the loading area, would that be for, let's say, 53-foot trailers as opposed to a 14-foot or a 20-foot or a 24-foot box vehicle?
That's correct. Yes.
Oh, okay. So that clarifies that. And I guess you're really saying that that section of the property requires the maneuvering of space that reduces that landscape strip. Okay, anybody else on the committee? I kind of chimed in there. Yes, Linda, go right ahead. Unmute your mic, please.
Hi, sorry about that. Through the chair, I was just going to comment that the building beside, which doesn't show really well on the plan, but it showed on the request for comments, the original one, that there was a large space, like they were adhering to the 3-meter rule on that side, on the building that would be attached to it. So it would still end up being enough green space with the 3 on one side and 1.5 on the other. So you still get a 4.5 meter spread between the two buildings. Have I got that right? That would still be green space down the
Yes.
middle?
Yes, that's correct.
That's fine with me then. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I'll look to the committee then for a motion on the application. David, please go right ahead. Thank you.
Through the chair, I move that minor variance application number MV-2021-19 be approved subject to condition or conditions in the staff's report. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There's only
David.
one condition.
Yeah, there's only one condition. It's a big one though. Okay, and I'll look for a seconder. Linda, thank you very much. Calling the question. All of those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
yourself a good evening.
Have a nice evening.
Thanks, Brad.
All right. We're on to presentation number 6. And let me just pull that up here. Okay. This is application MV-21-18, 74 Center Street in Aurora. The owner applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to permit a minimum existing lot area of 717.8 square meters or 7,726.3 square feet for a double duplex dwelling. Whereas section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum lot area of 1,100 square meters or 11,840.3 square feet for a double duplex dwelling. B, a minimum existing lot frontage of 18.4 meters or 60.4 feet for a double duplex dwelling, whereas section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum lot frontage of 22.0 meters or 72.2 feet for a double duplex dwelling. And I'll just highlight a few comments before planning. The Heritage Advisory Committee is part of the staff report. There is a note that the proposed development was presented to the Aurora Heritage Advisory Committee on April the 5th, 2021 to assess the associated heritage permit application. And there is a memorandum dated April the 5th, 2021 that outlined previous development proposals for the subject land since 2014 and provided comments and recommendation on the current proposal for the double duplex dwelling. Further in the next paragraph, the memorandum states that the architectural design of the proposed dwelling is generally consistent with the guidelines set out in the Heritage District Plan. However, Staff were concerned with the overall building depth of 18.8 meters or 61.7 feet, and the number of windows on the front elevation did not reflect the Northeast Old Aurora Heritage Conservation District guidelines. The guidelines recommend that the maximum building depth be limited to 16.8 meters or 55.1 feet to ensure sufficient rear yard amenity space is achieved and that the windows make up between 15 to 20% of the wall surface. It also, the Heritage Advisory Committee also provided comments that the front porch be expanded. Staff note that the plans submitted in support of this variance application, Appendix B, are consistent with what will be presented to the General Committee on July the 6th, 2021. So planning comments with respect to the official plan. As a condition of approval, staff are recommending that the application be presented to the town's design review panel for review, and that the applicant obtain site plan approval to ensure that the proposed development respects the residential character of the area by addressing those types of matters, and there's a list of them. So in recognizing that the proposed development is compatible with the surrounding context and that the above noted concerns can be addressed and mitigated through site plan approval, it is staff's opinion that the proposed variants meet the general intent of the official plan. With regards to the zoning bylaw, the staff recommend as a condition of variance approval that the applicant obtain site plan approval to address site plan matters as outlined above. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed variances maintain the general intent of the zoning bylaw. With regards to the appropriate development of the property, the proposed double duplex is compatible with the surrounding context, which contains a mix of housing typologies. It will also provide modest intensification of the subject lands, contribute to the diversity of housing stock in the town, and create an opportunity to provide affordable rental housing units. Additional comments received. Building Division preliminary zoning review was completed on May the 4th, 2021, and then subsequently updated on June the 1st, 2021. Engineering, no concerns on the application. Operational Services, Parks and Fleet. In a memo dated June 28th, 2021, the following comments were provided. There are trees situated on the subject property and or property line that may be impacted by excavation or disturbance due to demolition or construction. This may result in irreparable damage to the root system and or canopy to one or more of these trees. Documentation received does not indicate any tree removal. However, there is a potential for impact of trees that requires formal confirmation. In view of the above, staff recommend that the committee impose the following conditions in the event that this application is approved. So there are a number of conditions there. I won't complete them all, but I will mention that all of the above shall be included as terms and conditions in a letter of undertaking with the town of Aurora to guarantee compliance with the conditions of approval and all related site works. Legal services, no comments or objections. Bylaw services, no comments received at the time of writing of the report. Central York Fire Services, no comments received. York Region has no comments on the application. LSRCA not commenting on the application. As it is located outside the area governed by OREG 179-06 under the Conservation Authority Act. And Electra, no comments specific to the proposed variances, but provide their general comments. There is a list of conditions associated with this application for consideration. So I'll ask if the applicant is with us this evening, and do they wish to make a formal presentation? Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Hassan Faraji. I'm the owner of the 74 Center Street.
Just stop you just for 1 second. I apologize. Is there a point of order or comment?
Yeah, just a point of order, Mr. Chair. I believe there was a matter that was brought forward to staff about a discrepancy between site plans, and I just wanted to see if we could clarify that before we go down a long road of discussion that may end up.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that forward, Stephen. I should have. Yes. So there was an email that was sent. I believe staff is aware of it. That included a site survey and one from the applicant and one from, I believe, a property adjacent. Is staff? Has staff had an opportunity to look at the documents that have been shared with the committee?
Through the chair, the applicant does sign the application form and provides the necessary material to do the review. So what they've submitted is to the best of their knowledge, and that's what staff uses to make their assessment of the application.
So staff hasn't really looked at the additional information that was brought forward by a resident.
As I mentioned, we use what we have with the application form, and that's a declaration is signed on the application form. It is to the best of their knowledge with the commissioner present.
And I guess the reason we bring this up is obvious. If there is a discrepancy, and we've dealt with this in the past, if there is a discrepancy, it's really on the owner's shoulders to make sure that that what they are presenting and what they are giving to us is indeed accurate. If there is a discrepancy between two abutting properties that may have an impact on the variances that are being requested, then that owner may end up coming back to the committee should it be discovered that property lines aren't exactly correct or buildings aren't situated exactly where they are shown on a drawing. So with that, we can proceed based on the information that we have received. And I guess we would be putting the owner and the applicant on notice that we have been made aware that there might very well be a discrepancy between where he thinks his property lines are and where they actually are. So I guess we can move forward, no problem. If the owner applicant is unsure of the information based on what has come to light, he can certainly request a deferral so that he can confirm that the information that he has provided the town is in fact accurate. Or if he's that confident that the information that he's provided for us, we can proceed, let him know that we've got information or we've seen something that might jeopardize the approvals that we might consider this evening. So let me go right then to the applicant. So I'll just ask the applicant if in fact you're confident with the information that you've submitted to the town. Are you okay with the application that you've submitted?
Yes, that's 100% accurate. The survey is the same survey that been used in 2015 or 16 by the previous owner to just get the permit, and is 100% accurate.
Okay. All right, so we will then hear your presentation. If you wish to make one, sir, please go right ahead and welcome.
Yes, like we are applying for the for double duplex here, like as you mentioned, and also in the staff report, we went through the Heritage Adjustment Committee, and they just suggested some changes when we applied everything that been suggested by the Carlson that was not working. That's not working anymore with the Heritage Department. Everything that Heritage Department that said, we applied it, and they were 100% agree with the changes we did. The only thing that stays here is the frontage and the lot coverage for the double duplex that we brought it to the attention of the Committee of Adjustment, that we figured it out, and hopefully we sort it out.
So I take it that you're satisfied with the information that we've got. You do not wish to make any other presentation other than your comments.
Actually, because I know that there is other delegates that is going to talk about, I just want to listen what they say, and then I add if there is like a question or whatever at the end.
Okay. I'll ask then, and I am aware that there are delegations from the public who wish to join us tonight. So I will ask Prashanthi to permit those delegations to address the committee. I believe Steve Arms is with us, and Mike Fuller is with us this evening.
Through the chair, yes, you're correct. We have Mr. Steve Arms and Mike Fuller, and first we'll have Mr. Steve Arms provide his delegation.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Arms, and welcome. And the floor is yours. I'll just remind you that we try and keep these presentations to approximately 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, town staff, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Steve Arms, and along with my wife, Rebecca Murdoch, we are the owner occupants of 78 Center Street, the heritage property directly east of the property you're being asked to approve for variances. Now, before I go any further, let me be crystal clear about one thing. We're not opposing the redevelopment of this property. That needs to happen and has unanimous support of the neighbors and community. What we are opposed to is the density and variances requested. Other issues around design and heritage matters were dealt with on Tuesday by council when they voted 6-1 for a 90-day deferral to allow the developer to commence consultations with the community. I'm here tonight to urge you to either vote against the variances requested or to encourage the applicant to defer the matter and engage with the community for their input, as the owner of 70 and 72 Center Street did. There needs to be time for the community to work with the applicant in order to arrive at a mutually agreeable proposal. We firmly believe that the compromise is possible. However, it requires the applicant to engage with the neighbors in good faith, and these neighbors are ones he now claims he'll be moving into and sharing the home with. More on that later. Bylaws were created for a reason, and variances should not be automatically assumed. The proposed building is inappropriate for the old Northeast Heritage Quadrant, as it does not reflect the nature nor history of the neighborhood. The variances requested are excessive and poorly planned and serve as a reference point for other developers who wish to destroy the heritage community of Aurora and Stable Neighborhood Initiative. As was clearly noted during the Heritage Committee meeting of April 5th and Council this past Tuesday, there are significant concerns about the design and required variances to the application. And the applicant has repeatedly said he's willing to compromise with the town, and that, quote, no developer is more cooperative with the town, close quotes, than he is. The striking part of this is he's never spoken to any of the neighbors nor consulted and discussed this with us. Only after the 90-day deferral was granted on Tuesday did he reach out to me. And we did have a brief meeting this afternoon, and all who attended agreed that there are more issues to discuss and resolve before we can come to a mutually agreed upon solution. But it was a positive start. Excuse me. Now, there are 3 major zoning issues I wish to address tonight. The major technical issues we are concerned with revolve around his assumption that his ability and space for development is the same as was appropriately done with 70 and 72 Center Street. These are not similar properties. First, the additional space requested in the application will significantly impact the available green space, water drainage, and have an environmental impact that is beyond what is required to build an appropriate home in this area. The existing home at 74, as well as surrounding homes, already have basement water issues. This will only multiply that. And I can guarantee you, today's rain demonstrated that. 2, the parking provided is only for 4 spots, which will be incredibly tight and insufficient for his planned 4 2-bedroom rental units. This will lead to more street parking and traffic issues on a street already being studied for traffic concerns. This was a major concern and worries about additional basement units that could have led to a 6-plex with the need for up to 12 cars. Fortunately, on Tuesday, Council decided to commence an undertaking to ensure no additional basement suites could be added, and that will attach that to the title as a condition of any permit. This leads us back to reconsidering the idea and need for a double duplex. Addressing your issue from before, Mr. Chair. Number 3, the drawings provided do not appear to be accurate as far as the existing survey, which is on file with the town and which the developer received after I had to have it done in July 2018. This was the result of a dispute with the applicant, and he's aware of the 2018 survey. This is specifically noted concerning the pine tree located on the property line between 74 and 78 and the massive roots. By the way, the tree is about 2/3 on my property. Please see Exhibit A. How can you approve plans and variances if he's using the wrong diagram? Now, you must pardon my skepticism, as I've heard every previous owner of that property during my time here say they were going to build it for their family when they were behind a crunch. In fact, this is a redevelopment for rental or a flip. If it's truly for his family with perhaps 1 rental space, why can't it go ahead as a single family dwelling with a higher end basement apartment, or a duplex, or a pair of semis? Those are all options that the community could embrace and could be built to fit with the look and feel of the neighborhood and perhaps even the current zoning, rather than what has been presented as 4 rental units until now he's going to live there. I should add, the applicant owns 2 large vehicles personally, so he's going to need half the proposed parking for himself now. As has been noted by the Heritage Committee and Council, we have 1 chance to get this right. It's not something we can slap up and fix later. Once it's built, it'll be there for decades or more. In the last week alone, more than 200 people signed a petition opposing this proposal. You have received it, and I reference it as my Exhibit B. These are our neighbors, fellow residents, and their voices must be heard and regarded. Tonight's meeting can have 3 outcomes. First, the application is rejected and he must start again. Second, the application is granted, it'll be appealed by the community, and we'll be back here again. Or third, we defer this matter to encourage cooperation and negotiation between the parties, then hopefully return with a mutually supported plan that can proceed on the current timelines that the council's 90-day deferral gives us. On behalf of the residents of Aurora's Heritage neighborhood, please do not simply rubber stamp the further degradation of our Heritage District, but let's work together to ensure a responsible and appropriate redevelopment of 74 Center Street. Thank you. I'll happily address any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ames, and I appreciate you staying very close to the presentation timeline. Really do appreciate it.
I was within 2 or 3 seconds every time I practiced.
You were very good. You brought an awful lot of information forward, a lot there for us to note and take note of. And I would ask that you stand by, don't go anywhere, because members of the committee may have questions for you as well. And I'll ask Prashanthi if she would be so kind as to allow the additional delegate to come forward and address the committee.
Yes, through the chair, Mr. Fuller can make his delegation.
Good evening, Mr. Fuller. Welcome, and the floor is yours. Please go right ahead.
Thank you so much for your comments. Good evening to the chair, committee members, town staff, and others in this virtual meeting. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before the committee. My name is
Mr. Fuller. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, can we just get your full name and address, please?
My next line. Thanks.
Thank you. Sorry.
My name is Mike Fuller. I have been co-owner and resident with my wife, Christine, for over 30 years at 73 Catherine Avenue in Aurora. My appearance here tonight is to address our concerns with the application for minor variance MV-2021-18 at 74 Center Street, which is directly south and behind our property. We are one of over 200 signatories to the online petition objecting to the current application. The objections are based on everything from poor design that fails to meet standards established by the Heritage Advisory Committee in 2006 to concerns about density that will arise from approving the variances requested by the applicant. I should be clear in stating that the entire neighborhood is delighted that there is an application to improve this property at 74 Center Street, which has for years been in dire need of repair and maintenance, especially in the past 5 years. There has been in that time a steady cast of short-term renters, none of whom have, to my knowledge, exceeded 6 months. The result is a property best described as an eyesore in the historical district of Old Aurora. We have seen steady improvement and development on the street. The most recent is at what we used to all refer to as the raccoon houses at 70 and 72 Center Street, directly west of the applicant's property at 74. The developer at 70 and 72 has done a wonderful job in resurrecting those homes with attention to historical details that have been welcomed by the entire neighborhood. This developer approached the neighbors at various stages, asking for their advice and suggestions while adhering closely to historical guidelines. He took 2 addresses and made 4 units with parking behind, but it should be noted that the property behind is much larger than at 74, offering the developer an opportunity to preserve large green space. Until today, the applicant at 74 has never approached me or many others in the neighborhood about his intentions. I was first informed about the Heritage Advisory meeting that took place on April the 5th, 2021, entirely by chance meeting a Heritage Committee board member on the street. I was astounded, to say the least, and decided to begin conversations with my neighbors on this. Not one of them expressed support for what we all agreed was a poor design that compromised this historical neighborhood, added problems to traffic flow, failed to support preservation of green space, all while potentially stressing existing aged infrastructure. Hence the petition you're all aware of. This past Tuesday evening, a general council meeting to approve the historical application was turned down 6-1, but offered the applicant a 90-day extension on the permit to modify and work with the neighborhood to move forward with a plan that would be a compromise, appeasing concerns for both the community and the applicant. My first meeting with the applicant on this took place this afternoon, along with another neighbor, just a few hours before this meeting. An encouraging sign that he's willing to listen and hopefully make some changes better suited to the neighborhood. Our number one issue as the neighbor directly behind the property is with the parking area in the current plan. I know that the applicant and the town planner have worked on buffering 4 parking spaces from our fence with the addition of a pyramid cedar tree hedge. This, in my view, fails miserably to preserve green space. The driveway, parking spaces, and the required turnaround paved areas leave very little green space. I suspect this does not adhere to the rear yard amenity space requirements of the district plan. As well, a walk through the neighborhood reveals something of note. I doubt there's a single driveway with just 1 car. So this application for 4 units, offering parking for 4 cars, is, I believe, underservicing the double duplex in the plan. Where would these second cars go? Where would visitors park? Center Street is already being observed by the town about traffic concerns. I can't see the addition of more cars squeezed into a paved parking lot doing anything but complicating a solution to those concerns. Tonight, the Committee of Adjustment is being asked to consider minor variances on the property. I would ask that the committee either vote against the variances or seriously consider postponing a decision on these variances while the 2 parties, the applicant developer and his neighbors, work to manage a solution that might not possibly require any variance. This extended consultation is supported by council by acknowledging the issue at Tuesday night's meeting. Any modification to a neighborhood that officially honors its historical past needs to be one that is vetted and discussed to make it right. Once variances are allowed to significantly alter that, we potentially open the door to a succession of developers who fail to understand that trust. We as a neighborhood are all shareholders in ensuring the Heritage District of Old Aurora stays as a unique, proud reference to our past. Let's do the right thing. Thank you for allowing me the time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fuller. Again, appreciate the comments and the time that you've taken in order to bring these issues forward. Prasanthi, I'll just ask if there are any other, and I'll ask you, Mr. Fuller, just to please stay with us because again, we may have some questions for you as well. Prasanthi, I don't believe there are any other delegations on this application. Am I correct?
You're correct. Through the chair, we just have the 2 delegations.
Perfect. Thank you. I just need to get clarification from staff on one thing that has obviously been circulated, and that is the petition that we have seen, that I'm seeing. And I guess I want to ask staff, this type of petition I'm not used to seeing. I know they exist, and I know that they have been done in the past in other municipalities. This petition has signatures, obviously, from outside of Aurora. And I'm wondering if the petition in and of itself should be submitted for our consideration, number one, and why. My concern is anybody can put a list of names together. There are no signatures on, no actual signatures and no addresses. And so I'll just get clarification from staff on staff's position, just as it pertains to the petition.
Yeah, through the chair, it's up to the committee whether or not they want to take this information or not. Any information provided is up to the committee to decide. I don't think staff can say what's valid and what isn't, but what we can say is you can take this information and do what you like with it.
Okay. Thank you, Rosanna. I'll leave my opinion on that for further discussion after the committee has had a chance. I'm going to go directly to the applicant, and I just want to ask a question right off the mark here. Both individuals who have addressed the committee have very aptly and correctly laid out some options. We can review the application and we can make a decision to either approve or deny. You have the opportunity to tell us whether or not you want us to proceed or whether you want us to defer. I am aware this afternoon, the mayor did post on his website that there was a moratorium that was placed, a 90-day moratorium that was placed on the property to allow further discussion and have this matter reviewed in greater detail. I'm not going to try and sway you in any way. This is your application. But to me, it sounds like there's some work to be done on the application before it goes through this committee, because you may end up going through this committee and take your chances with us and then find yourself back here, or going through this process for a reduction to the frontage and just the two considerations in terms of the variance that you're asking us to consider, and then find yourself again in a position where some of the changes that might come forward that you might agree to bring you again back again. So let me just ask you, based on the deputations that have been made, and I can tell you the other, I should have mentioned, the committee has received a number of other emails, copies of emails and copies of objections to your application for other reasons. So I'll just ask you, I know we're into the application now, but it's up to you. You can ask us to defer, or you can ask us to continue and make a ruling on this. So what would you like us to do?
Tom, because I didn't use my like opening time for this statement, I just want to make some points, very important points. We can continue, then we can decide, okay, what's the best can we do. If Brashante or like other staff like can show the number one picture, because I'm going to raise the bring up one of the question Stephen Arms like brought my neighbor about the property. This is it? Yes. If you see, this is the survey that Mr. Arms provided me during the dispute over the property line. In this meeting and also in the other meeting, he mentioned that green zone, that pine tree, it's 2/3 or 3/4 in his property. As you see in his own survey, it's his own survey. The 100% of the tree is in our property. But it's been already sold. I just wanted to bring to the attention of the public and everybody who's listening this, that this is the whatever survey we give us is 100% accurate. The other other concerns, I just really wants to hear like outcome, also the comments on my neighbors. What they concerned about the density of the 4 double duplex we're gonna do here. What's the difference between the 70-72 that's been recently developed, density of that property at density of the or property? Because the same parking spot, 4 parking spot needed for that, everything, even our frontage is a little bit bigger than the frontage that he had. They're saying that he has a bigger lot. And also we are working with the staff, Stephen, about the concern that the neighborhood has about the vegetation and the grass and everything. We just gonna work with the Stephen to provide everything that accommodate everything that needed. Other question that they have, is it necessary? And maybe Tom or other staff can help me. Is it necessary that for the double duplex, for example, we have more than 4 parking units? Or no, it's just whatever the landscape they requiring? Is it we have a certain coverage for the landscape needed over there or no? Also, please, I get the attention of everybody. The 70 and 72 is built on a very old structure. This is going to be brand new structure. Also with the problem that we have in the neighborhood, just imagine that, in the whole city, a lack of the housing, this property is going to create a very, very, very nice, convenient option, choice for the people, young people, or young people with the 1 or 2 kids to have the opportunity to live in the heritage community without buying a house or anything. I think this is very nice. This is the future. This kind of housing, I agree that it has to blend in with the heritage. They're talking about how it's going to be blending with the heritage, the nature of the neighborhood. We asked basically the heritage department that Carlson even designed the house for us. We applied everything that the heritage department suggested. What else I can do? If there are any neighbors, I even talked to the Stephen and Steve Mike today, and I said that even if you guys have any suggestion regarding the look of the house, regarding anything that we can do, I'm really very open to these kind of changes. No problem at all. And about the petition that's been signed, Tom, you know better than that. You mentioned that, for example, I can go on now in the internet and just mention that, okay, there is somebody is going to build a house over there, it's going to damage the heritage nature of the community and stuff. Of course, everybody is going to go sign that petition, but they don't know what's going to happen. We are open to work with the heritage, as we did before. If they have any suggestion, we apply here. I don't know what else, what more can be done. Even staff can help and they can bring their comments here and help me for this one. There is nothing else, nothing that they wanted and we didn't apply it here. We had so many windows, they said decrease the windows, they bring the height down, shrink that. We did everything, Tom. I don't know what else can be done. And also they mentioned that why I only want to make one more comment. They said that why I didn't go to the neighborhood to talk first. We wanted to confirm everything and see what's going to happen. If we go through, then yes, of course we would go that. I didn't know first we have to go to the community first, to my neighbors, and then come to the city. They told me this is the procedure. I have to go to the Heritage Department, then committee adjustment, then continue the rest of the procedure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hassan. I do believe that you are following the procedure. There's no question. In cases like this, we have very often at this committee dealt with residents who come forward, and as the two gentlemen have indicated, up until now they haven't been approached. You'll have noted that in some of the other applications that we have heard tonight, individuals have gone to their neighbors and obtained letters of support, which indicates that they have discussed what it is they want to do, and shown them drawings and plans and what have you. And then there's a signature, a date, and an address that goes along with that. And it does carry weight when the committee does meet and review, and as well as their comments. We look at all of the information that the staff have collected from residents, whether it's an email, a letter, or a petition, and gets circulated to us. So, and that's why at the onset I indicated to you before you spoke, and I appreciate that you've taken the time to do that, I wanted to make sure that you knew what your options are at this point. And the residents have certainly dealt with their own properties in taking the steps that they have, and have, in my humble opinion, have enhanced the neighborhood. And I understand that's what you are trying to do as well. So what I would like to do is I'm going to go to members of the committee and hear their comments first. But I will ask one question in from staff. The package, the initial circulation package that we received, that's dated June the 11th, 2021, Prashanti. There's an aerial photo in there that identifies the property. There are a set of drawings for the proposed house or duplex. Are those the latest drawings and the ones that we should be considering here tonight? Has anything changed in those drawings?
Through the chair, these are the drawings that were submitted in support of the minor variance application, and we haven't received any revisions beyond that. Okay, and I would assume that they reacted to the request to bring the building in its length, reduce it. It looks like they have been reduced on the drawings, and that is what we are looking at. The reason I ask is going to become very apparent when I present some questions to the applicant. But I'm going to let the members of the committee then bring their comments forward first. So let's start with Steve on this application. Steve, please go right ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My first question, and I have visited the properties multiple times. Actually, both the applicant's property at 74 Center Street and also the property, the adjacent property at 70 and 72, which I have clarified with staff is just one property with two addresses. I have some prepared questions, but I do also I want to preface these questions and address one of the comments by the applicant. I do agree it is my firm belief that Aurora is entering a bit of a housing crisis, and I think an affordable housing crisis. So I do agree with the applicant there. I do think that we need greater density. I think we do need greater affordable housing and greater housing stock, rental housing stock. So there, I am in full agreement with the applicant. With that said, and specific to the application that's in front of us today, I don't think we can just drop in double duplexes anywhere. There is a set of zoning and a set of requirements, and I think we have to make sure that where we put a double duplex is going to be appropriate, and especially if we put it in a heritage district and in a stable neighborhood, that it is consistent. That built form fits the property and that it is consistent with the neighboring properties in the neighborhood. So that's just sort of my general preface to my questions. The one that came up today about the survey, and I think this is important, and I'd like to get a little more context from Mr. Arms in terms of, the applicant has said that his survey that he has submitted is from 2015. And what I've heard from you, through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Arms, what I've heard from you is that you had a survey done in 2018 that is on file with the town. And I would like some context in terms of, and I've heard that it's been provided, and obviously the applicant has shown that survey. What was submitted to me today, I tried to blow it up as much as I.
So it appears that Steve's feed has frozen there. Yeah, just hold on, Mr. Arms, just for 1 second. I want to see if Steve, if you can hear us or hear me. Your feed has gone down. I don't know if you want to just dial back in, Steve, and reestablish connection. But I'll go then to Mr. Arms, and if you heard enough of that, Mr. Arms, you can reply.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair to Mr. D'Angeli when he comes back. Mr. Ferrangi today referred to a 2015-2016 survey. That was a problematic survey that he received, and that was part of a package with the previous owner. I had several issues with Mr. Ferrangi calling police over parking issues, and in 2018, I undertook a new survey to have it confirmed. That is the survey, and I have the entire email chains showing Mr. Ferrangi receiving that, as well as it being served. Respectfully, Mr. Chair, if he's swearing a 2015-2016 survey, knowing that a 2018 survey exists and is in his possession, and I can prove it electronically, that's a falsely sworn document.
Okay, and let me just interject here. Ultimately, Mr. Arms, the situations like that, and I think I mentioned it before, they exist, and they exist between two property owners, and it's up to those two property owners to sort that out. It's not the committee's responsibility, and it's not really the town's responsibility either. And I think you heard the planner say that yes, there is an affidavit that's signed whereby he's confident, and I asked him point blank, if he was confident with the information that he had submitted to the town, then based on that, we can certainly go forward. But he does so at his own peril if, in fact, there is a problem. And as I said, he may end up with a variance, or maybe not end up with a variance, but either way, he may end up with a situation that renders whatever he's doing non-compliant with a variance, should we go ahead and grant that. So it's incumbent on him to live with that risk, and the risk can be very, very costly, very costly. I won't go into that. I'm not a lawyer, but I've been a planner long enough and have seen enough of these to know that these can be extremely costly. Steve, you're back, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard the response from Mr. Arms, but
Yeah, no, I think I did, and you know, I heard enough of it to understand, and I did hear your clarification. So thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do apologize. I'm having an unstable internet connection tonight for the first time in forever, and so if I do drop, I do apologize.
not at all.
I will do my best to get back. So I do have a few questions for the applicant, and I think my first question is, I will state that I did look at the entirety of the discussion on this file in the Heritage Advisory Committee from April 18th. And I'm seeing some discrepancies here, so I just want to ask the applicant, sir, what is the planned use of this property at this point in time, the double duplex? Who do you envision living there, and what is the intent there?
Stephen, like the idea is going to be for the double duplex unit. The main floor one is going to be like with the basement. Upper floor one is going to be only 2 bedrooms. The one is going to be for me and my family. The other one, because my parents moving here, like in Canada, that's why I'm decided like to like use that property for them and use the upper one for the rental purposes.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, so the rental wasn't noted on the original minor variance application, so I just wanted to clarify that. So what you've said today is, you know, is consistent with what you said on April 18th. I did want to touch on the comment of, you know, the process. When I watched that Heritage Advisory Committee, you know, Carlson was mentioning that the normal process here is to go through a committee of adjustment, especially when you're asking for a built form that, you know, a form of housing that requires a minor variance before you actually go ahead and design that house, right? It just makes sense that way. He stated in that committee that you chose to go the other way around and go through the Heritage Advisory Committee first. Is there a reason that you chose that that order?
Because the reason is because I've been told that like mostly the main problem is going to be like happen here because of the heritage nature of the neighborhood. They're most concerned about the heritage, like a heritage look of the house. So let's take care of this part first, then move to the committee of adjustment. Because if heritage doesn't agree with the look of the house, as you see, Steve, there is so many things that's okay with the bylaws, but the heritage department doesn't want to happen. For example, you could have more like a windows, but they wanted less amount of the windows. So these kind of changes, they said, because the heritage department has a very strict like a bylaws and stuff, it's better to be approved by them first, then we go to the other procedure. That was the reason.
Okay, it seems to me, you know, and the comment from Carlson was that that was not what the consultation and the advice of staff was. And I would tend to agree with staff that you don't start designing something until you find out if you have approval to actually do it, right? So, I mean, it really doesn't impact what's before us today, but I was curious why we've gone through a process.
I follow the procedure, Steve.
Well, look, that's fine. We can go forward. I'm just noting that staff was saying that the procedure was something else, but that you had chosen to go this route, which is fine. The other thing I do want to mention is that you said that you didn't know that the process was to consult the neighbors, and in watching that Heritage Advisory Committee. There was a question, I believe, by the member Neil Asselin, whether you had reached out to the neighbors behind behind where the proposed parking lot is, and you mentioned that you hadn't, but that you would. So, and I'm understanding that the first meeting was today. So I'm wondering why, if you were aware on April 18th, there was a difference of several months before actually meeting the neighbors.
Because the reason I started, because I saw, first of all, when we bought the house like a few years ago, I just wanted to build a single family home here.
Mm-hmm.
it took long because I just did some research. I talked to so many agents. They said that if you want to build a single family home here, definitely you're not going to make the get the money back when you were spending here. This kind of stuff. Then I noticed that my adjacent neighbor that we bought the house at the same time, building 4 units with the parking lot at the back. And this one, I got surprised. I keep contacting the city, the building 4 rental units with the parking lot at the back. They said is compliance with the bylaws of the city and everything. That's why it came to my mind. Okay, let's apply for the double duplex and see how does it go. And they told me this is the procedure, and that's we went. To be honest with you, I didn't know that we're gonna have so many concerns on the neighborhood, because of the heritage lookup. Because I said whatever a heritage department says that's it. These are the ones. For example, just imagine, Steve, one of the neighbors can suggest something that's totally different, totally against the heritage look of the house. We are in a stage that we're at a good point now. Actually, today I told Steve and Mike, I'm ready if they have any suggestion, if they want to we do any changes to the front, back, side. I'm very open. As far as we get double duplex, I don't mind. We can do any changes to the look of the house that completely blends in with the heritage look and also okay with the heritage department.
Yeah. I understand, and thanks for the comments. Through you, Mr. Chair, what I would respond to that is that I think there is a key difference between your property and 7072, because as I said at the outset, I am fully supportive of increased density in Aurora and increased rental stock. The difference that I see is that, and I've checked this with staff, there were no variances required for the property at 70 and 72. The lot frontage is greater. My understanding is for however they acquired it, they have a much deeper lot. And if I look at the plans, there is a lot more green space on the back. We were there today. There's a large green space with a small field they're using as a soccer field, and it is quite deep. And I think there was a reference by one neighbor of was there during a torrential downpour, and even the grass was flooded, and you could see the water coming off the roof. So there are key differences, and I would point out you both in the Heritage Advisory Committee and in this session you've referenced that property, and I am fully supportive of that build. I think it looks fantastic, but more importantly, it complies with the zoning and the lot area and the frontage. So I just want to point out that there are some significant differences between the two properties. Just moving on to another question I have, and Prashanti, here I'm going to ask for a little bit of support here. If we bring up the applicant's survey, and what I will say, sir, is that I noticed that there are, if I'm not mistaken, 3 trees on the properties. There's a birch tree at the front that staff have referenced as significant from a stable neighborhood and a heritage standpoint that needs to be maintained. There's the pine tree that was discussed earlier on the property line, the debated property line, which is a significant tree from what I see, probably I'd say about 30, 40 feet high, and some significant part of the landscaping. And then there's one at the back of the property that is also an enormous tree with significant overhang. My question to you, sir, is do you plan to maintain those 3 trees?
Steven, you asking me?
Yes.
Yes, we're gonna preserve them. I love those trees. Those trees are great, especially the birch, pine, and the wild walnut tree at the back. Definitely, we're gonna protect them. And regarding the technicality, maybe we're gonna do interlock around them, around the pipe that doesn't damage the tree roots whatsoever.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question. I'm glad to hear that, and I'm very happy to hear that, because I think those are significant trees and they contribute quite a bit to the neighborhood. My concern is when I look at the drawings, and Vershanti, if you can bring up the drawings, and I realize drawings can change, but I think there's a drawing that shows this one here. I note, first of all, that only the birch is showing on these drawings and not the pine tree on the side, which would be located roughly where that 1.5 meter side yard setback is located. But when I was there on site today, I noticed that that tree has a significant root system, and it's the base of the tree is actually elevated probably a good foot off the ground, and I'd say at least 2 meters wide into where that driveway is planned to go. And to do, my observation here is to do any grading to allow for a driveway, I don't think there's any doubt will do significant damage to that tree, whoever's property it's on. To be quite honest, my observation is I don't see any way that that tree could not have irreparable harm, and you maintain these drawings and the driveway where it is, which gets back to, and the reason I say that, and if you look at the staff report, there is a lot that is in the staff report deferred to a later stage, or suggested to be deferred to a later stage in site plan review. But I don't see how with this lot area and with this design that we are being asked to approve today, you could maintain that tree and not do significant damage and still maintain your driveway and your house the way that it is proposed to us today. Okay, so I don't know if you can, I should have taken a picture and provided it to town, but the fact of the matter is the root system comes up from a significant distance away from the tree. And that driveway, the grading that would be required, it's just not possible the way it's outlined in the drawings. I don't know, through you, Mr. Chair, to the applicant, if you know.
Steve, there is already driveway here, parking spot here. There was already gravel with here, like it's been there forever over there.
Right.
And also, I think technically there are ways to protect the tree during the construction, and also you don't need to put the asphalt or something over there. And I think
my point is there's a huge hump because the roots are elevated there, and the existing driveway, you're right, but you would need an SUV to get to the backyard because you're going to go sideways over that huge bump. That's where your driveway is in these drawings. It's a significant problem with what I see in the drawings and the layout here. You would need to lose that tree or do significant damage to the roots, and it's not protecting it during construction. The way that it is situated, that hump, the root system, is elevated in your driveway. Okay, where you've got
there is something else too. We shouldn't forget that the existing house, because of its old style, old bylaws and stuff, it was a little bit towards the city. Now we're gonna have 6 meter back. So maybe there are ways. Maybe we do a ramp or something in the front, like a protected, for sure there are ways, because it's just raised now, never been raised before. So we can look it up and find a solution for that.
Fair enough. My point is what I'm saying here before me today. I don't see a way that this is actually feasible. What's being presented here. Okay, so I'll just leave that point there. If I read this correctly, this drawing that's in front of us, at the back of the house where it shows that 7 meters and the driveway into the 7 meter, the 7 by 17 area, that is all going to be paved, correct? To allow the maneuvering,
yes.
The parking lot?
Yes, maneuvering. Before it was 5, they suggested to make it 7, and it's going to be mostly interlock.
Okay, and so you've actually answered my question, because there was reference in the advisory committee of potential for parking issues. So you've answered that. So which is very interesting, because you've actually taken even more space, and there's significant mention in the staff report and the Heritage Advisory Committee of outdoor amenity space. And so where we're looking at this map here, and once again, it goes to lot area. Where do you plan the outdoor amenity space that is so critical to the heritage evaluation and the committee? And it gets back to, and I'll just explain, it gets back to the adjacent property is much deeper. They have the same amount of parking, but they also go back with an outdoor amenity space with a fire pit and a soccer area, and there's the buffer with the neighbors. So where is that, we'll call it softscaping, in your drawing here, or where is it intended to be?
There are a couple of items, like Stephen brought up the other day, because we're going to have another meeting on the 12/12, he said we're going to work on it. But the first suggestion was, at the end on the left side, maybe we're going to put over there and put some tree in front of it to look nicer. Maybe that's one of the suggestions. Even I told Stephen that I'm open. If you have other suggestions, we can work it out and find a best place to do that, because it just brought up by Stephen a week ago.
Okay, so the proposal, or the thought, at least at this point in time, is to use
Yes.
that 2.5
Yes.
meter strip down the side of the house to use it as outdoor amenity space.
Close to the end where the 6.8 meter, for example, ends. That's my first suggestion. Maybe there are better solutions too. We'll work it on that.
Okay, so it's I think we'd all agree it's a minimal space there.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the prepared questions I had for you, sir, and thank you for the context. I do have some questions for staff, if I could, getting to the actual zoning and minor variance tests. So Prashanti, if I could trouble you to bring up page 3 of the staff report. Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, if I could request Prashanti to bring up page 3.
No problem. I'm glad that Prashanti has access to the applicant's submission drawings, because I'm going to be going to those as well.
Yeah.
So Prashanti, don't close your file on that, please. And so I think I know in the staff report where Steve is going here.
Sorry, just page 3, I think, through you, Mr. Chair. Prashanti, if you could go to page 3, it's
the one with the table on it.
Yeah.
Next page, Prashanti. There you go. Next page. You got it. Thank
Perfect.
you.
So my question is, and this is to provide the context, what struck me is the second paragraph under zoning there, where it says, in permitting these various housing forms, the bylaw requires different minimum lot frontage and lot area requirements, which increase as the housing typology is intensified with additional units. The intent of this is to ensure a lot is appropriately sized to accommodate the additional units within these various housing forms. The minimum lot area and frontages associated with the permitted uses as follows. So through you, Mr. Chair, question to staff, if I understand this correctly, in the normal course of a double duplex application, the town is expecting to see a lot area of 1,100 square meters and a frontage of 22 meters. Would that be fair?
Through you, the chair. Yes, that's correct.
Right. So when it references, the staff report references, and this text references, the appropriateness is to have increased lot area and increased frontages as we increase the density. And obviously we have different rear and side yard and front yard setbacks, and we have different lot coverage requirements. These are specific requirements in addition, that is lot area and lot frontage. So what do staff, through you, Mr. Chair, to staff, what do staff consider specific to lot area and lot frontage when they're looking at the appropriateness for a double duplex?
Through you, Mr. Chair, with respect to this application, we look at each one of the applications on its own merits. We look at the existing site condition, we look at the existing, and in this case, we're looking at the 4 tests and making sure it meets those. So with a double duplex being proposed on the site, meeting the minimum lot area and lot frontage clearly can't be done. And that is why they're coming through a variance. But staff, in review of the staff report, staff see this as meeting the 4 tests of the Planning Act in their review.
Okay, so thank you for that answer, but I do want to gain an understanding of what the process is. So through you, Mr. Chair, I just repeat the question. So in a general case, why is it that you would ask for 460 meters for a detached dwelling and 1,100 for a double duplex, right, as a lot area? What are the considerations that would require more space for a double duplex, even if they meet all of the other requirements? I understand each site is different, and we'll get to that. But why? What are we considering here? These are different requirements than side yard setbacks and, you know, and parking spots. They're specific lot area that's supposed to go up as we get more dense property. So what are you looking? What is the intent? We're looking at a general appropriateness, is what it says here. How would you generally, just walk me through the assessment of a property to determine what the uniqueness of each property is? What are you looking for here?
If it's okay through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to jump into this question. So thanks for the question, Steve. And you're right, we have different lot area and lot frontage requirements as the use intensifies. However, I would like to say that, you know, as Rosanna mentioned, each site is unique, and we have to consider the unique context surrounding each property. And as you can appreciate, this is an existing lot, which has this double duplex use permitted as of right. And so in recognizing that, and also looking at, we're not just looking at the lot frontage and lot area requirements in isolation, we're looking at the development standards that go along with it in its totality. And so in staff's assessment, we reviewed the standards, and as it's mentioned in the report, the proposal meets all development standards with the exception of the lot frontage and lot area, which is an existing condition. And I'd also like to note that, you know, a lot of the development standards, not only do they meet, they exceed it by quite a bit. So like, for example, the front yard, the coverage, lot coverage, you know, albeit that they need to accommodate parking and that sort of thing. So to answer your question in a nutshell, yes, we are looking at the lot frontage and lot area requirements, but we're also looking at the development standards in its totality. And when we're looking at it in that regard, staff is satisfied that the built form that is being proposed is in keeping with the intent of the standards in the zoning bylaw, and therefore is compatible, appropriate, and considered minor.
So thanks, Anna. And so just through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to follow that thought because I understand that given the zoning for this property, that there are several housing typologies that are permitted. It goes with the zoning. But these are the only requirements that are specific to a detached, a semi-detached, a triplex, and a double duplex. And I will get to the specific staff support for the zoning and why it meets that minor task, because I do have some concerns about that thinking. I'm trying to think what we're saying here with this application, for us to be clear that the lot area is 35% below what is recommended for a double duplex, which puts it in the detached category. the semi-detached category, which it complies with, and the lot frontage puts it in a detached category. And the question I have, every property is different. And I could understand if this is a pie-shaped lot where it's larger at the back and at the front, and therefore we've got a lot frontage. So my question to staff here is, if this is what's required, what is unique about this property other than the fact that it is smaller than the property beside it and all of the other ones that have conformed? And my concern here is that this is the first one I've asked staff, what other variances have we had of lot frontage and lot area for double duplexes or even for triplexes? And the answer is we have none. And what I'm reading in this report is we can set aside lot area and double duplex, and lot frontage for a double duplex as long as we meet the other requirements, as long as the other requirements are met. And we're going to open the floodgates to properties like this that have no green space, that, we can't protect the trees or any of the heritage properties. And if I could, Prashanti, I would go down to page 5, if we could, where we have the planning department's comments to the zoning. So the zoning bylaw permits the double duplex dwelling, and I think the assumption here is if it meets the test, otherwise it meets all of the requirements. Otherwise, it requires a variance to be able to build a double duplex. And it says, and as a right, that is under the sorry, this wasn't wrong. Yes, the proposed development complies with all building setback and height requirements and can provide required on-site parking and driveway access. With all due respect, those aren't the requirements that are in front of us today for variance. And so to use those as justification for meeting the test in lot area and lot frontage, it's to be quite honest, it's irrelevant. The zoning bylaw requires 1 parking space per dwelling for a double duplex. Fair enough, it's met, but this isn't what we're discussing today. And it goes on to say temporary on-street parking. So far we haven't got anything that addresses the test for lot area and frontage. As noted above, staff recommend as a condition of variance approval that the applicant obtain site plan approval to address site plan matters as outlined above. Staff are of the opinion the proposed variance and maintain the general intent of the zoning bylaw. So we have nothing that specifically talks to the matters at hand, lot area or frontage, other than to say that we're going to kick the can down the road to site plan review to make sure that there's adequate rear yard amenity space and that they can preserve the trees. With all due respect, that's what's in front of us today because there's inadequate lot area here to do that on this property. And then if we go further down to the variances are considered desirable and appropriate, once again, based on the discussion analysis above, staff consider that the proposed development is appropriate for the property and the variances are considered minor in nature. Approval of the variances recognize the existing lot configuration to facilitate a residential built form permitted by zoning bylaw. Of course, it's permitted, assuming that it meets the requirements. The proposed double duplex is compatible with the surrounding context, which contains a mix of housing typologies. But yet, as I've mentioned and staff has confirmed to me, we don't have any other exceptions of this nature where we are allowing double duplexes on a lot area that is 35% less than the minimum requirement and a lot frontage that's 16% less. And so I think with all due respect here, if staff is telling us that we're going to disregard the minimum requirements for a property that's not unique in any way other than it's smaller than what the zoning bylaw requires, then to be quite honest, and I'm sorry to be direct, I think the appropriate approach here would be to do an amendment to the zoning bylaw and not put through a minor variance for a 35% lot area decrease and tell us to just ignore the requirements. I'm all for densification, not an absolute concrete jungle in the middle of a heritage district where the property, it's not appropriate for the property. And those are my feelings. I feel that this staff report is errors in terms of the zoning test, on the appropriateness test, and also on the minor nature of this variance. It is simply not addressed in this report, in my mind. Okay, those are my comments, Mr. Chair.
If I could respond, Tom.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The applicant also wants to jump in here.
Absolutely.
But I am going to give the because we're really talking about the staff report at this point, Hassan. So I'll just ask you to hold on, and Anna, please go ahead. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there was a lot to digest there, Steve, so I hope I'm going to respond to each and every one of your points. I tried to take some notes. So I just want to start off by saying that, the purpose of the staff report is to assist committee in making their decision. You don't have to agree with staff's position. We are providing you with our professional planning opinion. You can disagree respectfully, and we're good. And so thank you for respectfully providing your points there. Yeah. Just on the point on the minor test and looking at the differential, like the percentage difference, that's one way you can look at it, but really that won't stand the test at the tribunal if this ever were to get appealed, to be quite honest with you, looking at the difference between what's required and what's being requested. The real test there for the minor is impact. Mm-hmm. What are the impacts? And so in that regard, staff are of the opinion that issues that we've brought up with the applicant and any potential impacts, we're of the opinion that we could successfully address them and mitigate them through the site plan process. And just back to your point about the report not really addressing the requested variance for lot area and lot frontage. I respectfully disagree, as I responded in my previous, to your previous point. You have to look at the development standards comprehensively, at least in my professional planning opinion. You'll note that in the report, it said that the purpose of the lot frontage and the lot area is to ensure that there's adequate space to accommodate this built form and everything that needs to go with it, parking, green space, etc. So, having looked at the site, right, and recognizing that, they could have built a much larger building. They could have proposed something much larger. So looking at the site, looking at the size of what's being proposed in terms of the building footprint, and looking at the setbacks that are being adhered to as per the zoning bylaw, we feel that it is appropriate for the development of the land. And that is how we are indirectly addressing the lot area and lot frontage, because the purpose of minimum lot area and lot frontage is to ensure that there's adequate space for the use that's being, or the built form that is contemplated. So, and that goes back to my comment about having to look at everything comprehensively. So I hope that helps to at least give you some perspective as to, how we came about with our, our opinion. And there's no issue at all. I mean, the committee can disagree and ultimately decide whatever way they wish, and staff is here to assist committee in, in providing you with the information that you need to make a well-informed decision.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may respond to that, and I won't go into great length. I do appreciate that, and I do appreciate staff's input on this. I would just state that I have stated where the impact is on this, and I have stated that I do believe densification is necessary in Aurora. I am fully supportive of 70 and 72. In this particular case, I'm at a loss here as to how you maintain trees, how you provide any sort of amenity space. And we're being asked to defer those decisions, which are directly related to lot area, to a site plan review and trust the process down the road. But this is our decision to make. And I'll leave it to my committee members, whether they agree or disagree. And as you well stated, Anna, I respect the job staff does, and I respect your ability to disagree or have a different opinion, the same as my committee members. But I do feel that there is significant impact here that was not being addressed. So I'll leave it at that. I know the applicant would like to make a comment. Anna, I do appreciate staff's input here. But I would also say it's not very clear in the report. It's all indirect, and those are your own words. It's what the minor tests are here. So thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Steve. I'm going to just say I think you've touched on some of the points that the other members of the committee would have brought up as well. So I appreciate that. I'll let the applicant, Hassan, if you can just be brief, because I think there are other questions that come up. But just to Steve's points, please go ahead.
Sure, definitely. Okay. You know what, Steve made some points. Steve, regarding the green area, just don't forget it's very, very important. Steve, we are moving the property back. The green that's going to be seen mostly is going to be front, vice versa, the property in the neighborhood, because this is the new one. Even the new one that we built before, they have almost the same line with the existing one. But now we're going to be 6 meters inside the property. That's why in the front, we're going to have more green. And that's why in the neighbor, because he didn't do these changes, alternation, he has more green at the back. But we're going to have more green in the front that's more visible for the neighborhood. Other point that you mentioned about the lot coverage of mine and lot coverage of the adjacent neighbors, 7072, for your information, our frontage is more than the 7072. And also he doesn't meet the requirements of the lot coverage for double duplex. My coverage is like it's 730 square meter, and his is 860 square meter. And also his length is only like a 6-7 meter, like a more than me. It's not that like a big difference. It's still his property doesn't meet the requirements of the like a double duplex, but they allowed that one to be built over there. And very important point, Tom and the committee, I'm one of the applicant, one of the developer ready to cooperate with the city in any manner to get this one done. This is the time we can do this. Double duplex is going to create lots of like opportunity for the people who can live here in the rental $1,500, $2,000 and enjoy the neighborhood. If we don't do that, we have to look at the future. Like we need this kind of housing. We have a problem in the downtown. We're going to start having problem in the Aurora. This is the best opportunity. You let a developer like me that is interested to work with the Heritage Department. With you guys, we do something that is going to stay forever.
Thank you, Hassan. I appreciate that.
Mr. Chair, if I may, can we just follow up on one of those questions that we're saying the applicant is saying that 7072 did not comply. Could we address through you, Mr. Chair, that if there were any variances on those properties? Because I have asked the question of staff, and I understand that there were no variances with respect to lot coverage, or sorry, lot area and lot frontage. And I would note that property in the staff report is referenced as a triplex.
That's, I believe, correct. And I believe, Prashant, that you've already answered that at Steve's request to see whether or not there were other similar or semi-detached or triplex applications that required variances? And I think the answer to that was no. Is that correct, Prasanthi?
Through the chair, I took a quick look from the variances from the past couple of years, and I wasn't able to find any. And I wasn't looking for specific variances as it would relate to any duplexes or triplexes. I was looking for variances in general within heritage conservation districts, and couldn't find any within the past couple of years at least.
Mr. Arms, is your property fully compliant to the best of your knowledge to all of the zoning requirements? Okay, your mic was.
I'm sorry. Through the chair, yes, Mr. Chair, from everything we have been told, we are fully in compliance. We've actually begun a process of looking at doing the addition of a garage type structure in the back. One of the first things that was checked was our compliance with the existing survey of 2018, as well as preceding ones, and we are in full compliance.
And sorry, Mr. Fuller, what address were you again?
We're at 73 Catherine, which is directly behind the applicant's address at 74.
And you're fully compliant, are you not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no variances were requested for your property, to your knowledge?
No, we put on an addition back in 1996, I believe it was. And I remember going to the town and asking them for a permit, and they looked at my backyard and said, you could build it twice as big if you want it. And I said,
okay.
You need it.
I just wanted to circle with the folks that, they're attending the meeting just to see, get a response. Let me go to other members of the committee at this point. Daniel, your hand is up. Please go right ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. Thankfully, I won't have much to say, but I did want to get on record. The first two comments I'm just going to make is, first of all, I am in support of, or I actually do not think in vehicle first development. I think planning around cars is part of our current problem. But that being said, we do have to take them into account. And being on Center Street frequently, I do know the restrictions that exist on that street. That being said, and all these items are going to repeat my colleague, but I just wanted to maybe put a slight different spin on them if possible. The other thing is on the affordable housing. Yes, it is extremely important that high density housing is important. We are seeing some significant growth in terms of the valuation of our homes. That those high density homes are going to be extremely important as we move forward, especially as we get close to our downtown core, the public transportation, the GO train, Viva, all of those. So to be in that area has a value, and it does help increase the value and the use of our downtown core. So I am in favor of adding density in those geographies. However, that being said, and I know I'm repeating Steve, but take it as a compliment, Steve. The geography, or the land has to support the plan, and there is great value in developing the area. There is value in adding more than a single home dwelling to that location. But the four-dwelling, the double duplex, to me is a little too dense in terms of having to worry about, like I said, I don't like thinking car first, but you do have to have at least 4 cars that can be parked within the property itself. There should be some area for green. There should be protection of the neighbors. It should follow that look and feel. I was trying to bring up some old satellite imagery, which if you were seeing me on the computer, I was trying to find, but I wasn't able to find it in time, just to compare to the neighbors. So all I'm going to say, there's not much that can be asked or brought forward, because my main question was going to be about the square footage, the frontage, and that was brought in great detail by my colleague. So I'm just going to mention that I strongly believe that the concept is sound. The concept is needed. The concept is the future of that that Yonge Street, Wellington area. However, maybe the density of this proposal is a little too much, and the property in its vertical nature as opposed to its horizontal nature, in my mind, it might not be the best place for that type of development of the double duplex. Just my thoughts.
Thank you, Daniel. David or Linda? Linda, unmute your mic and the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Hi,
Comments
thank
and
you.
questions.
Thank you. Enjoyed through the chair, enjoyed listening to all the questions and what Stephen had to say. I've got to agree with that as well as Daniel, for sure. I had a lot of questions. A lot of them have been answered or brought up for discussion, so I don't need to repeat as well and try to keep it a little bit shorter. I just got a few things here. The design to me, first of all, does not look heritage at all. It has a front porch, but that to me, there's no color mentioned. There's no, surround how the house is going to look. So to me, right away, that doesn't kind of blend in with the area that it should. It should have, a little bit. It should have a little bit more. It's a beautiful area. The second is the drainage, and no softscape at all. Really, honestly, whether it's asphalt or it's interlock, fine, but that's all it is. It's solid. That gets very hot. That doesn't allow anything to grow around it. If you drive over it and you're driving over roots, you're still, it's still damaging things. I don't like yards, or I don't think yards are appreciated if it's all interlock or asphalt. Even in the front, I see what you're saying, but I do also see that birch tree in the front, another one of the problems. And by having that birch tree in the position that it is, and having the beautiful maple that I'm thinking, you're right, Steve, it might be 30 feet high, it might be more. It has to be 100 years old. It's massive. I can't get my arms around it. I was on the side, I did look at it, and I did try to hug it, and I couldn't. Okay, so I'm just saying, there's no way you're not going to touch those roots with the bulb that's around it, and it's long. So now you've got this massive tree in your way, and then you have this birch tree that's also in your way this way. So all of a sudden your driveway is going to have to do this to get into the back. And then because your backyard isn't it's going to be very difficult for you to have 4 cars being able to turn around. And when you have 8 bedrooms, somehow I'm thinking you might have more than 4 cars, and then it causes that car problem. I've also noticed that all your washers and dryers are on every floor, which leaves the basement completely empty. If you were going to have the main floor using the main floor in the basement, I think you would have converted the basement to have more usable space. And right now it's completely empty with nothing in it. I would imagine that eventually the plan was to put more units down there. Otherwise, you would have had your washer and dryer on the main floor, go straight down the basement anyway, if those two were connected. That's just my observation on that one. The square footage of each unit, I'm not quite sure how big that is. So when you're already throwing out numbers of $2,000 rent on them, okay. But if you're trying to, this is a prestigious neighborhood as far as I'm concerned, and it's stable neighborhoods, it's a heritage neighborhood, you might try to put that up there too. So that might be another thing. I also, the staff mentioned too, it's the appropriate development of the land. I can understand the appropriate level of that land somewhere else, but we're talking heritage, we're talking stable neighborhood, and maybe that is not the appropriate development of the land in that position, in that situation where it sits right now, right? Maybe if it was somewhere else where it was, it's a unique neighborhood. I think we have to be appreciative of it, and we have to try to maintain it. That's really all that hasn't already been said. I'll go on with that, but I thank you for your time. I thank you, Mr. Hussein, for coming out and keeping the light on in your car all this time. And I realize it's not all easy opening the door and shutting it, but it's, and the neighbors that come out to say, oh, the only other thing was too, was the I'm afraid that a lot of people had said that just to get the fact that there's so many people involved that have a comment to make should tell us something, whether we take that letter, those signatures into consideration or not, you know, whether we say, well, they had to be signed, and otherwise we can't look at, they're still kind of, we're there, you know, someone's tried to do something and they thought they were doing the right thing by putting the name in. I think we can't just eliminate that and forget that ever happened. I think we have to understand that there's a lot of people that have opinions. When people have opinions, they mean they care. And I think we have to observe that a little bit too, even if it's only 2, but I'll take 200 too. You know, I understand it. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much through the chair and all that. It's all good.
Thank you, Linda. I appreciate your comments. Let me move over to David. Yes, David, you've been patiently putting your thoughts together, I'm sure. Go right ahead, David. The floor is yours.
Yeah, through the chair, thank you very much. Actually, I'm the lucky one because I'll say other members have covered, you know, a lot of aspects, and even the staff have commented on a lot. I have a sort of mixed perspective of this, and I would say this in general, that I know all the members, we have all different backgrounds, academic backgrounds, work backgrounds, and all that knowledge. And when we come come before this, you know, public meeting, we're supposed to use our knowledge, our general knowledge, and also our knowledge of going to the site to see how things are. And also, you know, a little bit of knowledge maybe from the standards, Aurora standards, bylaws, and so on. There are a few things which I noted, and I want to point that out very, very clearly. Number one, I was happy to hear from the applicant that he is willing or open to have discussions or continue discussions with the neighbors as well as the staff, which I believe maybe started today or some days with Mr. Armes and maybe others, which is, you know, from experience, something which is always good. You talk of public consultation with others to understand, as you said, you know, if what is, you know, maybe the neighbors, there would be some changes or some, you know, something, a compromise or some sort, or and also to hear the applicant speaking to the heritage committee staff, talking to the planning staff, and so forth. And I could see from also the other point I would say is a feeling of, I have a feeling of, let's say, having this application go back, meet with the residents, because we are all positive. We want something good to happen. We don't want anybody to have a bad feeling or sort. Go back and maybe, you know, meet with staff again, meet with the neighbors, see how things could change here and there. Because, okay, I'll be open to you here. I'm an engineer myself. I work in development. I've been working in development for almost 30 years. And I have a lot of knowledge. Planning, I'm not a planner, but I know a lot of planning in terms of development. And I was happy to hear the manager of development and development planning trying to explain when you talk about adequate space for use. Okay, what are the uses required? And is that space enough or not? She talked about a minor impact of the development. And I would read the report. I'm looking at the engineering staff who would look at parking aspects. They look at the grading aspects. I'll look at the zoning bylaw enforcement officers or who are planners, but also dealing with the building code. Who would look at the building? They're looking at the building setbacks, it complies. They're looking at the highest requirements that are actually met. Parking is met, you know, driveway access, all those aspects. But sometimes from a layman's point of view, you would look at those differently, look at the visual. You look at what you see in the traffic, oh, there's a lot of traffic, oh, there's congestion, there's that. But if you look at the actual technicalities, doing the actual engineering, the calculations, you know, height, space, and all that, it becomes unbelievable to people who look at general aspects of things, the aesthetics, how it looks. When you look at people who really deal with the numbers, the actual numbers. So what I'm trying to say here is that, yes, I know some members were talking about significant impacts. I don't want to ask you that question. If I would define you, what do you mean by significant impact? Tell me. Then you will find that you have struggle in answering that question. I'm pretty sure. And then the aspect of minor impact, what does it mean? So what I'm trying to say here is, in general, in nutshell, is I'm happy to hear from the applicant that he is willing to meet with the residents, discuss how to make improvements, how to make changes so that if at all the development will be, you know, good for the residents, and also meet the zoning requirements, meet the planning requirements, and move forward. That's my aspect I'm looking at it, because I don't want to zoom in, otherwise then I'll be giving you a lot of lectures in terms of engineering aspects or planning and so on, and it may not really be good. So what I'm trying to say here is there's a lot of information here. How do you define significant impact? You know, they were talking about adequate space. For example, the manager saying there's adequate space. And in the report, it's actually shown on the zoning, there is enough building setback. It meets the height requirements. You know, things like those. I don't know whether people have looked at those in detail or understand them. So that's why I'm saying, I think in my humble opinion, the best way would be to go back and maybe meet with the residents and talk about it, see what is appeasing from their point of view, do the improvements which are required, and even from the staff, and, you know, move forward. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you. Chair.
Thanks, David. Yes, Hassan, I'm sure you're getting a sense of, you know, where the committee is coming from, and I think from that perspective, I think this has been very productive. I think both, you know, Mr. Fuller and Mr. Arms, you know, your comments I think are ringing loud and clear as well to the applicant. But Hassan, I'm going to make a few comments after, but if you want to chime in for a moment or two, and I don't want to drag this, you know, too long. But go ahead.
The only thing I just wanted to mention that, considering the situation that the 70 and 72 is there, Steve said that it's triplex, but Steve, actually, I have the MLS listing of that house. It says 4 units. So it's 4 units basically. Considering that that house is exactly like falls on the category of the double duplex, and it doesn't meet the requirements of the double duplex, frontage, lot coverage, everything, the same as my lot. But as I told you, like, I'm ready to cooperate. Just, I want you, like a lady and gentleman, tell me that what changes if I do, you're gonna grant me those minor variance, like you pass it and let me like do that. Just mention that, we go back and we apply it, we work with the neighbors, come up with something, and you say that, okay, these are the things we wanted and met. Which, can you tell me like which one you wanted to be changed one by one, please, if you want?
Well, just before we do that, okay?
Okay.
I think here's and I agree with what you're asking. You know, I hate negotiating during a meeting, you know, with an applicant, because it doesn't give Mr. Fuller and it doesn't give Mr. Arms a chance, okay, because they wouldn't be responding and participating. But I'm going to be very clear. I'm going to be very clear. When I looked at the application, I thought intensification has already started on that street. As a planner, when you talk about things in the community that are missing, like rental, for example, you know, condominiums have been built for the last 20 years everywhere. Very few rentals, high-rise buildings or medium-rise buildings, even, you know, they haven't been built, but the market has dictated that. In the last 3 or 4 years, I've noticed more medium-rise and high-rise rentals are being built. They're being built in Newmarket, they're being built in Richmond Hill, they're being built in many communities that I'm aware of, and I see them, and I understand why. I've also seen the demand for condominiums in the center of the city shrink, and that might very well be because of COVID and the implications of the transmission of that terrible and horrible situation that we find ourselves in. And there's been an exodus to the suburbs, and it's driven house prices up, which makes it even more interesting for someone to take a single family dwelling and look at any opportunity to increase the density. Taking all of the comments into consideration, I can tell you, here's what I would suggest you do. And here's what I would be more comfortable and at this committee approving. I believe that right now, when I look at the requirements, the frontage, okay, we're only talking a meter in going from a semi to a triplex, another meter in frontage from a triplex to the duplex. So the frontage isn't as much, in my opinion, as a planner, not quite as serious as the lot area. So when I look at that table, the semi-detached duplex at 650 square meters, you're in excess of that. And the frontage are very close. The triplex at 835 square meters for lot area versus your lot is pushing it. And 21 meters frontage, again, it's only a meter. And I think you could work around that. But the impact of that brings your parking down by 1 space. And on your lot, that would be a big deal because that improves the amenity space that you could offer. The double duplex, I think, I'm sorry, I'm not, if you want us to move this forward, I'm not in a position as a planner and looking at the size of the lot. It's just too much density, even though you're meeting setbacks, you're meeting height, and you're meeting a percentage of lot coverage. I think those numbers are there for a reason, and I happen to agree with those numbers. So minor variances, you've got some play there, but I can tell you I might look at a triplex, but I definitely wouldn't be looking at the double duplex. The other thing that I'm looking at, because you were asked to shorten the depth of the homes or the structure itself, I'll just ask Prashanthi really quickly. Prashanthi, can you go to the package that was submitted by the applicant? And can you pull up for me, please, the, I'll give you the drawing number. We can start with I'll just acknowledge, the unfinished basements, I think, provide you an opportunity to potentially look at garages. We've had semi-detached homes come in with garages that work into what we'd call the basement level, that would solve a whole whack of problems for you. But let's go to the first floor, if we could, for a moment. It's number 8, page 8. And when I look at, just let her pull it up. And Hassan, you've got drawings there, which is even better. So you'll be able to relate to what I'm going to say. If you look at that floor plan, and I'm going to assume that maybe because you had to shrink the length of it, something had to be given. I think it was the bedroom sizes. As a matter of fact, if you look at those 4 bedrooms at the back, not one of them has a closet. And if you look at the square footage of those bedrooms, they're like 8 feet by 8 feet or 8 feet by 9 feet. They're incredibly small, incredibly small. I don't understand the bathrooms at all. If you look at it, I think there is a bathtub in there somewhere, and a linen closet and a single sink. So unless those are somehow connected, I don't know how they would function. The toilet looks like you've got them facing one another. I don't know how that works. I don't know how your laundry area works. You've got doors opening into what looks like a washer and a dryer, and they're facing one unit only. I don't understand that. Let's go to the next floor above. So the next floor above is a little bit better, but those bedrooms are minuscule. If you could just go to page 9, Prashanti, for me again, please. So you can see that there appear to be closets for those bedrooms. So now you can call them a bedroom, but when you put the closets in, you would have a heck of a time even putting in a double bed in any of those. The bathrooms now make a little bit more sense. You've got a bathroom for each of those 2 units, and it looks like you've got a washer and dryer, which dovetails to your comments that those would be rental units, and they seem to be self-contained. But I have too many questions about the interior layouts and the design of those, and particularly on the ground floor. It really doesn't make sense to me.
May I make a comment, Tom?
And what I'm going to do is, because this meeting has gone so long, I'm going to have to change location so I can plug my computer in, because my battery is going to go. Without you making comments, here's my suggestion to you. I would suggest that you request a deferral, because I think we've raised enough comments for you that I don't know that you are going to get support for it. And I'm speaking for myself. However, I'm very concerned that, well, I'm not concerned, I'm just suggesting that you might want to consider a deferral to allow you to take some time and hopefully, answer some of the questions that have been brought forward. Give yourself some time to speak to your neighbors, and you've got a 90-day moratorium, as suggested by the mayor, to work through some of the design details. And then if you have variances to be dealt with, that you could certainly bring the application back. So, that would be my suggestion at this point. I don't know if other members of the committee feel the same way, but it is a suggestion. And I would leave that to you, but I don't believe that I'm certainly not in a position based on the variances that you're asking for. Just the frontage is not as serious an issue as the lot coverage for me.
May I speak to Tom?
Sure, by all means.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for your suggestions. I think that's like a main floor plan. I think it was a mistake by the architect or something, because we just wanted to work more in about the indoors, like a push more maybe bedrooms and everything towards the living room because it's so big. Okay. Just my question is that, like, okay, if I suggest that option you mentioned, triplex, and I'll come here, so the committee of adjustment is going to consider for proposal. That's what you mean? Is more appealing to you guys than the double fourplex, double duplex?
Well, my suggestion would be a triplex.
Triplex. Okay. Okay.
That's just my suggestion. We can ask other members of the committee, but I don't.
Can we?
That's just me, Hassan.
Okay. No, because you know what? I don't want to. Let me tell you something, Tom. Tom, honestly, this property needs to be redeveloped. As everybody, if we don't do it right now, it's going to be sitting forever, and nothing is going to be done. It's a very great opportunity. We have great people here, even my neighbors. I don't mind to work it out something, but I just want to hear that if I come with the triplex idea, okay, we fix those problems, little problem that you said. Everybody is going to be okay with that, and they're going to consider our proposal?
Well, I'm just saying that right now, based on what I have in front of me, I would say you're getting closer to something that I could support. That's just me. Other members of the committee might say something else, but and I only speak for myself, and I have a great deal of respect for the town and staff for the position that they're taking as well. They're prepared to and have supported, your application as it's been presented. But I think that you've heard enough concern from your neighbors who would love to sit down with you. And I think you've heard enough from members of the committee. It's your call, but I think you've had some really good feedback on your application, and I don't know what the other members are prepared to do at this point in terms of the application as we see it.
I have a question, Tom. Is going to be given the committee of adjustment is going to be the same members?
Yes.
Okay, can I get the inputs of the about the triplex from the other members of the committee too, please, if you don't mind? Thank you very much.
So you can, let's do it this way. I'll offer the members of the committee an opportunity to voice what they think of my suggestion or their own. If they want to disclose that, they can, but I'm not going to suggest that they have to do that. There's nothing other than what we've got in front of us for them to base anything on. So I can go around and just say, Daniel, if you want to make a recommendation.
Well, yeah, I just like to make a little comment, if you wish, as part of that. And maybe it will support other members. Maybe I'm alone, I'm not sure. But it's just, there's recommendations and then there's commitments. And I don't think, Tom, you're referring to any commitments, but I just wanted to make sure that was explicit in this discussion. What we're doing here is, and what Tom has been very generous with, is some guidance in terms of what he thinks, and knowing us for the last few years, what he believes of us as well. But Tom is not, and correct me if I'm wrong, making any guarantees. And that he was very explicit to say that based on the information in front of us. So if Tom, or sorry, if I was to be, if I had in front of me a minor variance in line with what Tom had just mentioned, yes, my decision would probably be different than what the one I have in my head right now. But things could change. There could be more comments from the public. There could be more information that I wasn't aware of. I was trying to find some historical imagery that I couldn't find today. Maybe I'll have it by then. That could support one way or the other. So to Tom's request and to yours as well, what I will say is that based with the information in front of me today, and to the guidance as provided over the last few minutes, I would be more inclined to go down. I would be more inclined for a favorable position than I am today, and I think that's as comfortable as I am to declare here in this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. David, what about you?
For me, I would support through the chair. I would support you, the chair. I will not mention your name because I don't think it's personal. This is as you are members and you as the chair, you have got those powers to make that suggestion. I would support to defer, but I won't promise saying that, oh, when you have, as the client was asking, or the applicant is asking that, oh, when it's triple, then you're going to approve. I won't wish to guarantee that or promise that. I would promise and agree that yes, should be deferred. And the reasoning for supporting this deferment is that I'm seeing that good positivity even from Mr. Arms, from Mr. Fuller, and even from the town, and even from the applicant, seeing that they want to work together, that there's that possibility they can work together. That's the reason I'm seeing that deferment, but no promise. As also Daniel said, there may be other complications, even with the complex, maybe need to be dealt with. So we cannot promise. But the only thing I can say, yes, I can support is what the chair is saying, maybe deferment, to give you an opportunity to speak with the neighbors, speak with the town, to see how we could actually, make some changes or make it better for the community. Thank you.
Linda?
What I think right now is like, I'd have to see it, but if the building would be the same size as it is now, whether there's a duplex or a triplex, wouldn't change what I think now. It would still be a lot of asphalt or a lot of stone. The drainage would still be an issue. Where is that going to go? And the trees are still a major issue. So it really doesn't matter to me what is involved in the building. It's what is the building, what size is that? That's what I'm going to go on, like how that fits in on that lot. That's where I'm going to stand with that.
Okay. Steve?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I promise I'll be much shorter. I think to build on a comment that you heard earlier from David, I think what is very important here, you've heard a lot of concerns about impacts, okay, in your building, right? I think there are ways, absolutely there are ways to mitigate the impact. So I mean, like, for example, and I'm just spitballing here, but if the trees are going to be a problem for the driveway, maybe you put the driveway on the other side. I don't know, because if you shift the house over, then you don't need to pave that one side over the roots and try and navigate between a birch and a pine or whatever those trees are. So you've heard the impact that people are concerned about the trees and how you're going to build the driveway. you've heard an impact, you've heard, like whether it's an architect, oversight or not, there's a concern about the layout. And, so certainly what a triplex does for you is it reduces your requirement for parking, right? And it gives you more space in the backyard to play and come up with a design that works, right? And it could be shrinking the house, could be changing the orientation, it could be a lot of things. But what I would recommend to you here is to go away and just think about the impacts that were talked about, have some dialogue with the neighbors. And I will tell you something, if you come with a plan that addresses the impacts that you've heard tonight and is supported by your neighbors, that's a lot easier to get committee of adjustment approval than to come in and say, I had a first meeting, these issues will be addressed down the road in site plan, and we don't have a vision of how the impacts are going to be mitigated, right? Because even though the town supported you, what I would note is they did note quite a few potentials for impact in their report, and you would still have another phase to overcome down the road, which is site plan review, which in a stable neighborhood, that's going to be your next step anyway, if I'm not mistaken here. But certainly you don't want to have this laundry list of things that are coming out of each committee that you have to address. So I think absolutely, if you, and I, not I believe, this meeting is recorded, right? And it will be available on YouTube. And if you go through and you look at the impacts and you say, how am I going to address this impact? How am I going to address this impact? And if I work with the community, and you've seen variances tonight that came with letters of support by all of the direct neighbors, you're in a very good position compared to what you're hearing right now. That would be my suggestion.
Steve, Steve, you know what, why I'm suggesting this? Because you know what, it's so much time getting spent and money for
Absolutely.
This property already cost me fortune. I bought it in a worst time of the market, and that's why I'm trying to get something out of it for myself and for the family, and also something good for the neighborhood. I just don't want to build something that again, but the point is, the reason I ask everybody's comment on this, I don't want to come next time and bring the triplex here, with the everything that you guys ask mostly, right? Fair, and they tell me, Hassan, you know what? Don't worry. We are suggesting now to go to the semi-detached or something. That's why I just wanted to comment, your comments on this one. So if we come with the triplex and we take care of those stuff, I'm going to talk to my neighbors, try to come with the design. So mostly, I know that there are some other factors, but in the favor of the committee, most of you guys, at least, right?
And through you, Mr. Chair, just a final comment. I think that's a great approach. What you are hearing from the committee and your neighbors, everybody is supportive of higher density on that lot. Everybody is supportive of replacing the existing building with something that's better from the neighborhood. Everything that you're saying yourself, right? So I think that your approach seems pretty good. And in terms of this committee, I think you're going to find this committee is about as straightforward as you're ever going to find. I don't think you'll get this direct direction from many other committees. So if this is what is said tonight and you address it, we can't say how we will vote on something that we haven't seen yet, but I think you've got some very good direction. That would be my
thank
thought,
you very much.
Richard.
All right, makes sense.
So let me just hold on for one second there. Bersanti, I think if I may, did I miss a message from you? Was there something that you thought we needed to do at this juncture?
Yeah, no, just through the chair. If the application is being deferred, just that when you're passing the motion, you just need to make sure that you're saying that it's being deferred to the next meeting.
Correct.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure that everybody knew. And just for the record, the next meeting is going to be on August 12th.
Right. And just, and thank you for mentioning dates, mostly for the applicant, because I know that this is costing you money. You've invested money, and you're right. I already talked about the value of property and what it's been doing in our community. We're very aware of that. We're very aware of your carrying costs for sure. So, but what it does do is it does put a little bit of a time crunch on you as well. If you want to make sure that the next meeting, you're bringing a revised proposal forward, unfortunately, it's going to mean you moving very quickly with your neighbors and moving very quickly with your own review and getting a revised site plan and some drawings into staff so that they can again get that reviewed, and I don't know that they can guarantee you that they can make the next meeting either, but as quickly as you possibly can is what I would suggest. So if you want to make the request that we defer, you can do that. Or the committee, I think, is telling you that we would like to defer this. And if you're okay with that,
yes,
I'm
no
going to.
problem.
You are. So I then, it's a good thing that Mr. Fuller and Mr. Arms have stayed with us this whole time, because they are now aware of following a motion that's going to come in a minute, that there's going to be an opportunity for more input. And, Mr. Faraji has indicated that he is very prepared to work with you. And so, and I believe that, listening to his comments, he's very sincere about that. And I think, that speaks very highly of the applicant in this case. So if I may, I'm going to look to the members of the committee then for a motion. And please indicate in the motion, if we are going to defer, that we defer it to the next meeting of the Committee of Adjustment.
And sorry, through the chair, just to clarify, the motion just can't be like open-ended. So the owner doesn't have to come back for like August 12th or September, just the fact that it has to say that it has to be deferred to a future meeting.
A future meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah. So committee, I'll look for a motion. David. Please go ahead. Your mic is muted, David. Sorry.
Sorry about that. Through the chair, I move that the minor variance application MV-2021-18 be deferred to the next Committee of Adjustment meeting, which is on August 12th, to give the opportunity to the applicant to work with the residents and the town staff to resolve the concerns which has been put forward by the residents. Thank you.
So August the 12th or a future meeting?
Yeah, okay, August the 12th or future meeting.
Okay.
So, about that.
Thank you. I'll look for a seconder for that motion. Steve, thank you very much. That's been seconded. All in favor of the motion as presented? Okay, and that carries unanimously. So we have deferred. I think that the time that we've spent on this application has been very productive and fruitful. And I'm hoping that the applicant is in a position to work as quickly as you possibly can, because we would like to see this application come back as soon as it is able to do so. Thank you very much to everyone who's participated in the discussion on this item. And I'll move on in the agenda. And we are actually at the point in the agenda where I ask for any new business, either from staff or from members of the committee. Any new business? Seeing none. Any new business from staff that we should be aware of?
No.
Through the chair, we have no new business.
Thank you very much. So with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Daniel.
Thank you. Through the chair, I move for an adjournment.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I guess we're all in favor. And so we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee.
Thanks, everybody.